Alright, okay, let me see if it's going through Streamlabs. I'm pretty sure it is. I don't think I'm... Usually sometimes like I'll mute it unless I close out of Streamlabs, so I'm not sure if all the time whenever I start if it's fully good. So I give it a minute or so after I start the stream up that I can just know that everything's working in a good spot. But let me look at some of the chat in a moment and see what everyone's doing this week, see what we can kind of just start out talking about, what we can kind of jump towards. I already know, like, getting chapters lately, like, every time we get a bundle, it's really big. I mean, like, legitimately, even in, like, in terms of big hype in comparison, like, Fairy Tales chapter wasn't crazy, but it opened a lot of stuff. Like, it was a huge world building chapter. I think it's bigger. Like, the fact that we got a whole new power branch is, I mean, it's obviously a big thing in general, because it opens up a whole new pathway for, like, the idea of powers in the series, as well as characters, what they can do. And it's kind of like right after Jackal explained curses for the first time. I said, like, that explanation. I don't remember if I said it in a review or if it was while I was in a conversation with someone, but it's that same vibe where it's like, sweet, a whole new avenue of stuff for the readers to find out that isn't just, you know, progression of the already established story. It's a brand new thing on top of what we're getting. So I'm really hyped about that, and obviously I really like the Celine stuff in general, but like chapters and like they've been super solid. Like, I haven't seen any that have been boring lately, even in parts where like I'm not as hyped. There's still good stuff happening, and even like the fandoms as well. Like, even the more, I mean, like, from the standpoint of the people that like a series more, like One Piece and My Hero, like, I read, I enjoy, but I'm not a big fan of. So like, even if like, oh, I thought this chapter was good, like other people might like it way more. Is kind of like where I was going at, but just in general, I think things have been doing pretty well. But yeah, anyway, what's up, Peter Campbell, Egan 101, how's it going? Guillotine, how are you? Darnell Mitch. Irene in July, how's it going? It's not July, though. You need to have Irene in every month and then just switch accounts every month. Uriah Wright, how's it going? Oh, I got my gain turned way up. I don't know how loud it is. Nigel Woods, can you subscribe to my channel? I mean, I have to check out what your channel is. Did you just start doing reviews, or like what do you do for your thing? Let me see. Oh, I accidentally opened your avatar. Let me see. Let me go to your channel. I'll take a peek really quick. Am I able to go just... I don't think I can go just straight to your channel. I thought you could go to somebody's channel from, like, the chat. I guess not. I mean, but, I can look at your channel. I'm not gonna just... I don't subscribe if, obviously, if it's something that's nothing to do with what I do. It's because I feel like if you do the subscribe to subscribe, unless it's from, like, a content creator standpoint, like, it just becomes, like, a plus number. It doesn't really help. I mean, like, because it would depend on, like, if you're doing like new Black Clover stuff or anime stuff, or is this like actually, you know what, I was gonna say like wood crafting or something, but I'm like, I've watched some lathe videos, like those are super relaxing to watch, so I guess that's not the best comparison to really give it to, but you know what I mean. Either way though, how's it going, man? I mean, let me get caught up with more of the chat. The goal is not to get behind this week. I mean, I mean that. I don't mean that in the way of, like, I want to always be, like, at the newest comment, but I don't want to get, like, 20, 30 minutes behind like I tend to. Last time, like, the last stream was I think the first one in a while, I got way behind. Hello, y'all. What's up, man? Brandon Theron, how are you? Lewis, what is it? Lewis Jr. 15. I was trying to figure if that was one word or not. I think I've read it before. I also pumped when it clicked through my head that this new power system. Yeah, I thought that was really cool because it was out of nowhere. It wasn't like we had something like when the Aetherius showed up, we already knew the Aetherius were different than like the demons that we saw in like Galuna Island, but it's like we got curses, and we had a little bit stated about curses like shortly before the full reveal, but then it was just such a new concept really when you think about it, but it kind of made sense of what you were going against Tardos, just because they were a mystery themselves, so finding out a mystery or being given a mystery kind of surprise like that was really cool. But with the spiritual arts, it just came out of nowhere. Like, that just came out of left field, smacked everyone upside the head. Laxus versus Obito. I mean, how does Laxus hurt Obito? It's literally Laxus either one-shots Obito or he never hits him. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing really that they can do in that scenario to each other. Because, like, Obito's hacks, I mean, I don't even really see him hitting a Laxus, because he tries to drop it on Laxus turns into lightning, moves away. Fight for Urza versus Pandemonium, take 2. Yeah, that was the only thing that I thought was kind of funny. just because she's already did the whole pandemonium thing. But like Yoko's thing isn't technically pandemonium. It's like the same meaning behind pandemonium, like the actual like demon. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, man, I think it's a place of demons or like this big event. I'm trying to remember. Actually, I think pandemonium, is it close to Megiddo, where it's like a location in hell? I don't remember exactly, but the Japanese one, it's like the 100 Demon Night Parade or whatever, kind of like it's more like has to do with like a Japanese lore thing. I'm more interested in Hakune, because Hakune, I mean, I'll just go on a small rant right now, because I know I just said that I don't want to get behind on the chat, but I think this is important. With Hakune versus the other ones, like with Lucy and Mimi, I don't expect Mimi to be too crazy, because Mimi, like, Lucy's by herself. I would really like to have, still have a solid fight. Like, if I can get like a 1 to 2 chapter fight out of them, I'd be pretty happy. But I don't expect that one to be crazy, because I'm guessing Mimi's gonna be the least powerful out of these three. And with Yoko, I don't think Yoko's gonna be the most powerful. I feel like it'll be Hakune, because not only is Hakune in her title has Moon. Like, it has something directly related to Selene in the title of what her whole alias is. There's also the fact that she's against the 2 strongest members of the main cast, and on top of that, 2 members of the main cast also that have a counter to her power. So she has to be busted. If she's not the strongest out of the 3 and not really overpowered, at least, like, she doesn't have to be strong enough to beat Natsu and Gray, but if she's not able to, like, get around, 1, their counters, and 2, if she's not strong enough to be enough to push them, it's gonna be really disappointing, because it'd be like, oh well, these guys, like with the other 2, it's like, okay, I don't expect them to be like big fights. I expect it to be kind of like how the Eden Zero fights with the first B Squad was, where it's like a chapter or 2 each, to where it's mostly just kind of getting the stretch in, understanding these new enemies and stuff, and just kind of, again, getting your feet wet going into the arc. Where it's like Hakune, I feel like Hakune has to be that secret, way stronger member. Like, it won't surprise me if it's like, after some fights, it's like Hakune is one of the elite members of Selene's group, and then Mimi and Yoko are like lower members that tagged along under the command of Hakune. It's definitely something, again, right now I don't have a lot of information on, because she was just introduced, but I feel like Hakune has to be the strongest out of the 3 to even do anything in this scenario. Or, because otherwise she's just going to get destroyed. Because Natsu melts, otherwise it's like, Natsu just melts all her snow, Gray eats it. But I also don't think her power is going to be that basic as cold. Just like how I don't think Mimi's is going to be as basic as being strong. Because not only are they characters fighting current level main cast, and we already know where the main cast is in, power-wise currently, and their abilities and whatnot, but they're tied to Selene. And go look at Alderon's crew. Like, the thing about the God Seeds is the God Seeds, even if, like, that was their first fight, because that was the first time they ever got up, but they were all hacks. They were way more in, the traditional kind of hacks casters, for the most part. Wolfen was different, because he's very situationally set. But for the most part, like, Metro, Doom, and Gears were very caster-based. But they were still powerful and hacks. So, their position made sense, and their level and how, like, the display fit with the kind of class type they were. I'm hoping that we can get kind of a similar situation with that with these guys, because none of their powers have to be boring. Like, even Metro, because Metro was, like, he was the plainest power out of the God Seeds. And his, though, was very physically strong for his summons, and that was like his switchovers. He had summons, so he didn't actually do the stuff. He'd send out his summons, and then he would try and, pull away and then control them from a distance. But that was like his whole thing, because his whole thing against Alderon's forces was he was like he was like the mass numbers physical strength just dude. He was like, oh yeah, he has the armies, he has our bulk of minions, essentially, kind of thing, and the idea of what they had at their disposal. So I don't think any of Selene's crew should be plain in powers. I think should all be hacks. Plus, like I said, the God Seeds just showed up. Like, Alderon just had the Lacrima broken. He had just got up. Whereas Selene's, not only that, Selene seems way smarter than Alderon. I'm betting she has way more powers. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if she's like, oh yeah, I've been learning all these different powers. Like, she probably knows curses, magic, and spiritual arts. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And then for one surprising, she has like magic weapons and stuff. Like, Celine seems like just one of those characters where she's way more prepared and way more organized than Alderaan. And again, it would make sense. And from what we've seen, it would all fit. So her crew has to be way more combat experienced, have, I think, way better powers, or at least just as Hack's powers, and should all be somewhat still, like, contendable opponents, like people that actually matter. But anyway, let me scroll up. I really wanted to go off on that because, like, Hakune has a lot of hype potential coming up, but she also has a lot of bad potential on that, like, things that she could mess up, like if she just foddered, or if she just, like, her power is just cold and she's somehow able to hurt Gray, because Gray should just be able to adapt to the cold, like, even if it's something that he has, like, it's like, oh, it's like Godslayer moments where it's like, even if they're at the same level, or, you know, they're slightly below said Slayer that they're against, Godslayers just had that higher level of potency at their level, but Gray would just adapt, like with his Slayer adaptability and speed, so it wouldn't matter. Let's see, so we have Black Clover Spade War, One Piece Ogishima. I mean, like, the One Piece one is in the site from My Hero. You know, I don't know who checked out the spoilers for the new My Hero chapter. Deku looks silly in that one, it bugged me. What's up, Draven? I was going. Raxer, do you think the new power system's going to offer? Like, will they use it, or the power's going to be like... I'm really hoping each of the main cast gets, like, a skill in spiritual arts. Like, Wendy, I think, should get, like, a much bigger crash course. I think Wendy should be way more widespread. I'm hoping the fact that spiritual arts, that Lucy has some play in it. Like, I'm really hoping that it turns out that all of Celine's people are, like, spirits that she's made. And, like, you could have, like, new spirits for Lucy. I just really like the idea behind that. Obviously, there's nothing really to connect to that idea yet, but just a wild theory off of, like, my ideas for, like, how Lucy can progress, and, you know, stuff that Celine is capable of, what Celine can connect to, because I am really hoping she connects to celestial spirits, as well as, I think it would just be a really cool, like, plot twist and way to progress the story. Marilyn is best wife. Marilyn is definitely my favorite girl in Black Clover. If you haven't already liked the video, yeah, I'd really appreciate anybody who'd like the stream. Thumbs up the video, prefer the like button, subscribe button if you haven't. And like I've said, and always will say, any donations are appreciated. They're not required. But like I said, anyone wants to throw, you know, even $1 my way, always appreciated. Flowers, Kurtz, Lucy, all things. Yeah, those are some aggressive flowers. Really going to see some amazing, something amazing from Natsu, some good combos from Gray and Lucy, or Gray Natsu. For Lucy, so with Lucy, I just want to see, like, a cool display of just Lucy being powerful and showing really, like, how capable she really is. Gray and Natsu's needs to be bigger. Gray and Natsu's needs to be the big one. You could have Yoko, I think Yoko and Mimi, each of them I think deserve at least a chapter and a half of a fight. I'm hoping each of them get to at least be, like with Lucy, I'm hoping Lucy has somewhere between, like, a mid to, like, a high diff opponent. Probably, like, in between that. Just on, like, an upper medium difficulty. And then Urza and Wendy, I'm hoping kind of like I'm kind of hoping actually with Urza and Wendy that minimum difficulty is already, like, not minimum difficulty, sorry. Like, a medium level of difficulty for Yoko is very possible considering who she's against. Like, she's got Urza, who already powerful, but we've seen her new abilities and new swords. And she's got Wendy, who's a very, like, Wendy is powerful. Wendy's very powerful. We already know that. She's not on top of attack power, but she's durable. But she's also got very high level support abilities for Urza, and she has Irene cheats. I guess not full cheat, but she has Irene's knowledge to help her progress. So, like, Yoko will be lucky if she gets a medium level, like, if she puts them to a medium level of difficulty. Hakune has to have a good fight against Natsu and Gray. Natsu and Gray are the strongest out of the main cast, because not only are they the strongest of the main cast, but you have Natsu, who, after we just saw with Alderaan, if Natsu pops Dragon Force, he destroys her. Like, we know that. But, like, she has to at least have a level of threat to where you think they have to fight her somewhat seriously. Like, Hakune right now, to me, is the one that has to be the big one out of these guys. Because the way that she's set up, and both who she's against, and the fact that in her title, literally, she's, like, says that she's, like, a representation of the moon. When she said I think she said, like, the snow, moon, and flowers. So, like, I mean, like, the snow and flowers thing, it's like, okay, but, like, the moon, like, if you have the title of one of your things is of the moon, and you work for the moon dragon god, I feel like you have to have a higher level of position than the immovable and the 100 Demon Night Parade chick, Yoko. Hamora's best girl. Yep, best Eden Zero girl for sure. Shonen Jump ended their contest, and it's disappointing no one from America won. If I could draw, I'd attempt. I can't draw. Imagine Happy beating a Yonko. Oh, they would, I do wish Happy sometimes was like one of those mascots who actually end up being really powerful or having some secret skill. There's always that potential in Elentir. There's still a lot of Elentir stuff we don't know, but I mean, like, I doubt it. It's not as possible. Gray and Natsu and Gray versus Naruto and Sasuke on a ship. Man, I've answered this for you like 6 times. Naruto and Gray. Like, Natsu goes Dragon Force, destroys him. There you go. I know it's planned to reunite the world where I'm not caught up. I'm not even bothering until the volume's over. Because if this volume pisses me off again, I'd rather be pissed off in one sitting than over the course of, what is it, like 10 weeks or whatever. You think Diablos will deal with the other Fairy Tail members instead of being in this arc with the main cast? No, why would they? They have no reason to, like, the only member of them that they really have, like, the only thing in Fairy Tail that they might really do that would even for, like, I don't think they would even bother with them outside of, like, Laxus and Gajil, because they would probably want to mess with these Dragon Slayers, but they're focused on Selene, and I don't really know why they would want to go after the guild. I don't know. I think it would make them just kind of seem weirdly going out of their way to mess with the main cast and piss them off. Like, I don't think so, because they're so focused, obviously, on the Dragon Gods. If Georg would have to have, like, a pissed off personal moment with the main cast where he's like, we have to crush this guild for him to go after the Fairy Tail Guild. If it's just in the if it's in the background, it'll feel like it's just setting it up for, like, the main cast to get pissed off and want to beat the shit out of these guys instead of just, you know, fight them because they get in the way. Because there's a difference between Natsu fighting them as, like, right now, and if they attack the guild. If they attack the guild, Natsu is gonna go full range mode and just demolish them. And, like, I know, like, they're definitely as strong members of Diablos. Like, the ones we've seen already are pretty powerful, and the ones up and coming they're gonna be really strong. I think, though, that, like, a full power, like, emotionally enraged Natsu, though, is gonna fucking, he's gonna run a train on them. So I don't want that to happen. Because we know that, like, Natsu's peaks for right now, like, his raw potential and, like, where he's gonna be starting to climb over is eventually gonna be Dragon God level. And unless these guys want to be a stepping stone for that, like, I don't think that going after the guild would be a good idea. The only way I think it should happen is if Georg it personally gets pissed off at the guild. Not like these guys keep getting in our way. Okay, you guys go deal with it. Go attack them. No, I think something has to happen to him personally, and he's going to have to be like... Plus, I would want it not to be off-screened. I want it to be like the guild is involved, and then Georg and, like, the remaining members of Diablo show up to fight him. And then it's like, listen, we're tired of your shit. We're here to stop you guys from getting in our way. I feel like that's got to be the way that it goes down. I've been so busy with finals, I forgot about tapping 100 Years Quest and get caught up, man. Rax is Ursa using a Fire Dragon Sword and an Ice Demon Sword reference to Haru's Ice Blade. So I think the Blue Crimson thing is more of just a clever potential Easter egg that Mishima put. But I think what Mishima is doing instead is he's going to have Ursa is going to have enchanted swords of different members in the guild. So the idea with Ursa is, I think that Mishima is doing, is he's going to have it, at least from the main cast, is like Ursa is going to, like, fighting Ursa in a way is going to be like fighting the guild. And I really am hoping Mishima goes that route, because I think it'd be way cooler than just, oh yeah, she's got a fire and ice sword that you could say is maybe a potential reference to Blue Crimson. Like, even if it's just like, oh yeah, she just wants to have Natsu and Gray fight with her. I don't think it would be... I think it would be a way better, place for the future of the story, Urza's character, and the power-up design idea is to give her swords of guild members outside of just Natsu and Gray. Like, even if it's just the main cast. If she has a Wendy's... Actually, if it would be a Wendy sword, I'd want a Wendy sword, obviously Natsu and Gray, a Lucy sword, and then I think the idea of an Exceed sword, where maybe she just gets, like, she can have arrow wings for, like, a short period of time and a flight. I think that'd be really cool, actually, if Urza had a sword that would let her fly. That'd be pretty badass. I think that would be pretty fair too. Plus, it'd just be really neat. And it would also, I think it'd also be, you'd have to do it because it'd be really weird to have the main cast members and then not even include Happy or Charla, because even if they're, you know, mascots who some people like will always be, oh, he's like Happy's a cat. Obviously not true. He's intelligent enough. You know, he's got human level intelligence, and their race are, you know, they're humanoid to a degree, and but Nazi obviously has always gone out of his way to, you know, display that he thinks Happy is a person. So it'd be really weird to ignore them and be like, well, they're just pets, which obviously isn't the case. But it would, I feel like it would diminish the whole idea of like how, you know, they see them as members of the team rather than familiars, and if they skipped over them. But I like the idea of Urza having a sword that let her fly. Shiki Samura, yeah, I mean, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Could Haru use Rune Save to seal Fairy Heart? I don't think so. I don't think so. Fairy Heart is unlimited. Like Ethereon was like this raw, super untapped potential of crazy raw power that could, you know, do everything that Ethereon could do. But Ethereon wasn't infinite. It was, I think it was closer to like unmeasurable, or immeasurable, but I don't think it's the same thing in idea for both Rune Save as well as like with Fairy Heart. Plus, when we saw Haru seal Rune Save at the start, it was like first sparks of runes of Ethereon. It wasn't like full power Ethereon. On the other hand, Diablos are going to eventually join the mix. Team Natsu and the Moonlit Beauty Gods. Yeah, it'd be weird not to have them in this arc. Peter, why did I read I was going to read Peter's name while I said that, instead of just a comment. If Irene didn't take part in this arc, I'm going to be upset. She has to be. I mean, like, Mishima's already had her show up twice. Who's stronger, Leva, Eleven Glory, or Nacha Dragneel? I mean, neither of them do anything. You have a fight of people with no powers. Thoughts on the best-selling manga 2020? And we'll be surprised by Eden Zero top 10 next year. I think that'd be hype if Eden Zero made it top 10 next year. But I mean, like, personally, I'm fine with series. Like, as long as the series is doing well enough that they don't cancel it. That is all I care about. Like, if the sales are good enough to keep the series going, and if the fans are happy with whatever the content is, that's all I really care about. Like, I don't really give a shit if Kimetsu no Yaiba outsells all these other things and breaks all these records, or One Piece comes back on top. It's like, whatever, who cares? It's cool. I mean, like, the only aspect, because like when people try and act like sales have anything to do with the fandom, it's like, no, it doesn't. Because a lot of people don't even spend money on. For one, a lot of people don't even buy a lot of the volumes and merch and stuff. So like, anybody who pushes for, you know, trying to flex sales and stuff and then doesn't contribute to any of that is dumb. But also, like, it doesn't have anything to do with like the quality of the fandom or of the series. That part about that I only kind of hype up is I'd like knowing that the mangakas are this successful. Like, their creations are doing that well. That's like the only time for me that I'm like hyped up, when it's like, oh, this series is doing really well in sales. It's like, sweet. I'm glad the author's probably super stoked. Black Whip for the mouth. I thought that was dumb. I thought that was silly. Like, the way that I think that I almost said Kubo. The way that Horikoshi could have done that and made it look not as bad is if instead Deku like spit it out. Like the idea of like if you made it more of kind of like a desperation, but almost not like in silly, but like in a way of like a desperation save. Like if he spit it out and it just was like this barely little strand of Black Whip and he was able to just make it, and I think it would have been just shown for a much more kind of like for just a much more dire situation set. If like he's no arms, it's just anything he can think of, you know, doing something like very, very crude as trying to do like a spit version. Whereas like the tongue version, it looks a little silly, and it's got the Sue picture next to him, and it just looks a little goofy. And that's one of the things I think Horikoshi has actually done very poorly, is in scenes where you have something like that where you can make it look a little serious. It's like Deku with the Air Force flicks. It's like you're using super strength to essentially flick a shockwave at somebody. But like, it's not like if you did it with like just some badass, like you'd probably think of something like that usually as like some just yoked like Toriko or Baki looking character.
but it's on Deku, and instead of making it look what I think it'd be like cooler if it was casual, or it's just like he's pissed off kind of way, or it's like makes him look again more casual strong. He looks too serious, and it's like there's a scene I remember in Beyblade where like one of the characters is in an alley and like he hears something and he turns around. It's like if you had a gun and you're pointing the gun at something to be like, prepare yourself to shoot, but the guy's got a Beyblade. And it's like in the world, maybe in the moment, you can kind of understand. But if you just looked at it, it looked a little silly. And that's the way that like Deku ends up is a lot of the time with his powers, where it's like you should be able to look cool with these attacks and moves, but like Horikoshi's gone on his way to make him look kind of silly. Let's see, Diablos are like the Team Rocket Fairy. No, they're not. Absolutely not. Team Rocket is like the Jigglebutt gang almost, because they're goofy. Every time they show up, it's more about how they're more of a nuisance. Like, none of the Diablos members have come off as like fodder throwaway, kind of just like, haha, we're here for chuckles kind of guy, and just like causing a 10-second little squabble. Like the first time they showed up, like you had Kiria clearly be powerful, reveal all the stuff about Diablos in the 5th gen, Madmo blocking attacks from all these different characters. Then you had the actual fights with him, and the Fairy Tail group got beaten. Granted, like with Natsu, motion sickness is at play. Skollion, I think, is different. I think Skollion is a lot stronger than Madmo and Kiria, and Urza didn't know about Kiria's hypnosis. But even after that, we saw Madmo and Skollion against Mary Jane and Elfman. They're still very powerful. We saw like how strong and broken Wraith was. We saw how strong and like just story and power informative that Nibaru was. We saw Kiria has still room to grow, and we saw some interesting kind of just like stuff from her losing, as well as just like the way that Skollion was able to give us a lot of information as he realized that he was outnumbered and they were in a bad position. Because the thing about with Diablos right now is like they've gone into both of these arcs with not having like they weren't prepared for Fairy Tail to show up, and then when they came into the Alderaan arc, they came like with numbers prepared for Fairy Tail, like the cast that was they just encountered, but they weren't ready for the main guild, like essentially the entire guild and the White Witch. Well, who they thought was the White Witch, obviously Ferris wasn't, but you know she was still an unforeseen like problem that they would have to deal with. It's not the same as Team Rocket. It's absolutely not even close to the same. I'll not even humor that claim. It's so disrespectful to him. Dynamite, the great homage to All Might. I still like Dynamite. People don't like it. Like some people don't like it because it's almost punish, but it's more like homage. It's more like centered around homage and a play on words. Plus, I mean, it looks cool. Reminds me of what is it? Is it the Dyna Bird? Is it Dyna Blade or whatever from Kirby? Because like like the way that it's really cool is like because the way that Dyna is spelled, it just reminds me of something like Dyna Blade, and it just sounds cool. And I can't remember if it means something, if the whole Dyna word with the Y, or if it's just a cool way to spell it. Either way, I think it's neat. By the way, I'm on the Blue Guardians arc. That's good. That's a good arc. How's it going there? How are you doing, JK? Can Kiria cut Madmo? I don't know. That's the weird one, because the thing about Kiria and Madmo are both weird occurrences with Slayers. Kind of like how Cobra is. Because they're all shifts in the standards that Slayers have. Because generally, especially Dragon Slayers, but Dragon Slayers essentially will always have high level durability, high offense, and high stamina. Pretty high stamina, but very high stamina and magic regenerating and refreshing. Is it regenerating? Recovery, I think is the better way to say it. High magic and stamina recovery, with obviously how Slayer magic works. Kiria, like with Cobra was the first one, because Cobra didn't show like a high level of damage potential, or damage potency and destruction ability, because he's poison based. Poison isn't the same as something like fire or metal or lightning. It's it's running a whole different way. It's using the chemical processes and stuff, and decaying and necrosis and all this different stuff. So he didn't, even if he had the potency to damage people at level, he didn't have the straight physical like destructive capability that like someone like like we see with Natsu now. even like, or anybody that would be like, if you try to compare Godzilla to Cobra, I think Godzilla would have way more just physical, like, like capabilities and be able, like, if you put him and said, hey, destroy this mountain, like, I don't think Cobra potentially couldn't do the same thing, even though I think he could hurt mountain level people, but I think that's with poison potency, whereas I think Godzilla could destroy it. And then with Kyria has shown that she doesn't have as high of just base durability and defensive capabilities that Slayers have always shown, and whereas Madmal hasn't shown that same like level of destructive strength and capability that Slayers have shown. So those two going against each other would be really weird, because they're lacking. They lack in one of the basics of Slayer, like of Dragon Slayers, but they excel in another one that they normally excel in. Whereas the parts that each of them excel in and fall behind it, the other one excels in, and then vice versa. So this is a really weird one. I don't really know. I would like to see an instance with that, because it could easily be Kyria slashes and she gets through it, or she slashes it and hurts herself because Madmal's too dense. Like, who knows? That's like the unstoppable force and immovable object in concept between these two. Because neither of them have also been displayed as stronger or weaker than the other. The only one out of the main three of Diablos we've seen that seems more powerful than the other two is Skollion. Skollion's the only one so far that's been seemed to have displays where he's outright stronger than the other two. Let's see. I just want Jalal to show us more. I'm really hoping that Celine brings Jalal into this arc. They're outside characters. I'm really hoping she decides to, use her powers to bring. Jalal, Kana. I kind of hope Laxus, but Laxus is kind of like it's on the I want him to show up. I want her to bring him in, but it's not. I don't think it's as high level as these other two. But also Guildarts. I think Guildarts would be really good too. Those are my big three for those would be Jalal. Jalal's definitely number one. Kana, and then Guildarts, and then probably on the bench, ready to swap in would be Laxus. I think Jalal's is the biggest though, because I really want Jalal to be relevant, because I think Urza needs to have some spotlight in this arc, considering some of their mom, and I think Irene needs to have some spotlight, considering everything that she's tied to dragons and dragon slayers, but also she's clearly tied into this arc currently. We just don't know story-wise if she's going to really do stuff, and I think by proxy of those two, I think Jalal should be, and as well as just what we saw with Jalal and Urza beforehand. It'd be weird. Let me see. Not sure all the fuss about my... some people just don't like the name Dynamite, because, like I said, it's kind of punish, but pun origined or pun stemmed. I think that some people are thinking that. I think a lot of people see it like Horikoshi's making a joke, rather than I think Horikoshi is just trying to have a play on words that makes sense with Bakugo's story and powers. So I think Dynamite is fine. Rax, Noct versus Charlotte. I assume Noct would win, and because the problem is Charlotte. If Charlotte won, it wouldn't surprise me. But Charlotte has just so few of shown abilities and spells that it's really hard to determine. Charlotte's just one of those people, and it's not like Jack, because Jack has the same kind of 2 or 3 spells, but Jack's base spell is just so good that he's one of those he's just one of those guys where it's Jack could only get technique and more physical enhancement based abilities, and he's still good the rest of the series. I think from a viewer standpoint, you could get bored of him if he doesn't get new cool stuff, but from the standpoint of the Black Clover world, he doesn't need it, because his sword is just so good. The fact it's going to constantly adapt, and how fast and physically set he is, how he's just going to be moving and trying to approach his opponents at all times. He's already kind of gotten just this really good skill. It's kind of like how Yami's biggest plus of his spells is how well he combos them together. The way that Yami's spells all work well together is Yami's biggest thumbs up. It's Yami's biggest gold star to his fighting style and his type of magic. And I think Dimension Slash was that big, even though he's still getting new stuff, I think Dimension Slash was that big cherry on top for him, because beforehand it's he's doing all these combos, but he's still got spells that you can deal with, whereas if he sets up Thank you for the $2. The $2 super chat. Jake Miller. Do you think Makarov will die in 100 years quest? Only naturally. Let me get on that. I want to finish this real quick, and then I want to get onto that because I've talked about it before, but it's something that I really always want to stand by because I really do believe this about Makarov's character, and I got to do my Makarov video. I've been meaning to do that for a while, but I really want to. I thought it was good and ready, but I really want to go back and reread some of like the spin-off stuff because there's some parts with him and Gray's spin-off that I think I really want to go over because there's some stuff I remember that I want to have in the video, as well as Phoenix Priestess I want to rewatch for the Makarov scenes because Makarov is a really good character moment in that movie. Actually he has a few, even though he's not like, he doesn't fight anybody and he doesn't really do any, he doesn't have a lot of screen time. But crap, where was I? Oh yeah, Jack. So with Yami, the thing is, like, when Yami, like, the way that his moves all set up, when he got Dimension Slash, he essentially has a move that if he sets up and gets off, it's almost a one-hit kill. Because it's, you know, it's cutting through dimensions. Unless you're somebody who has a really good hacks that counters something like that, kind of like Dante with just a high level of regeneration, or if you have a counter to darkness based magic, or if you have a counter to spatial dimensional magic, then okay. But not, like, most characters aren't going to have that. So him having that is, again, was a big plus for him. Whereas, like, Jack started out with his adapting sword. So he started out already with that like, huge, good, like, always good ability. I think that's the best way to say it. There are characters that when they always have, like, a power that's always good. If you have a sword, like, explained the way that it's explained too, the way that it's explained, how it's not like he hits somebody and then like, oh, my sword just auto-adapts. It's like, oh no, it essentially goes through somebody's magic and then absorbs some of their magic and then adapts its like nature and construction to match that magic. So it's like if you had, like, imagine it being, if it was like trying to think of somebody in Black Clover that has, like, elemental intangibility. Is there anybody with elemental intangibility? Like, off the top of my head, somebody can turn into an element? I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll just switch over to magic, to Juvia. Juvia, magic, turns into water. The idea is, like, if he slashed her, it's not like, oh, I can now, my sword just can slash you now. It's like that magic that lets you do that, lets you turn into water. My sword follows that, so it can still slash you. It's taking on the properties of what you're doing. Kind of like when Urza can, you know, has her water armor and sword where she can still hit Juvia. It's almost like that idea of just like it's following you into your powers kind of thing. If Eden Zero Volume 7 is a reference, 007 Casino Battle Royale poster? I don't know. Let me look at it real quick. Let me look at it real quick. Anyway, let me see. 007. I'm very interested in this now. 007 Casino. What's it called? Casino Battle Royale? Yeah. Poster. Come on. Why was it being so slow all of a sudden? Alright, let me look at Eden Zero. Which Volume 7? Which one was that? Just off the top of my head, I'm trying really hard to remember which volume that was. One of my cats has come to visit. Lay down, Karzan. Lay down. Unfortunately, this cat always wants to just be on top of me. So, I'm very happy she didn't bump the mic today. Let me see. Eden Zero. Which one was Volume 7? Oh, that was where she's standing in the front. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Like, it's usually when they do like references to movies, I feel like it's way more obvious. Yeah, I don't think it's a reference. It could be. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Am I way more behind than I thought I was? No, I'm not that far behind. Luckily, Jake Miller with the super chat gave me like a really good grounding spot to know where I'm at. Let me see. Crap. Okay, here I am. Okay. Whew. I'm always worried I'm going to lose it. I'm definitely further behind than I thought I was, but I'm not as far behind as I could be. It's really cool that Irene knew about the world already. Oh yeah, Irene is very smart. That's the thing we have to always remember. Irene at being a master level enchantress means she has to have a very strong fundamental knowledge of like stuff like magic, and by proxy she would know stuff like spiritual arts exist, and she would know stuff like curses and how curses like operate and how they function. Her knowing these things makes sense because she definitely seems just one of those really smart, knowledgeable characters who, similar to Zareth, would have a firm grasp over the layout of how the structure of powers in the world are. Power? I think you know what will rule the Spade Kingdom at the end. I'm hoping by the end they unite all four kingdoms and they have like a just they pretty much become, they combine it into one empire kind of thing. That is my hope for after the Spade War, because they're already allies now with the Heart Kingdom. They have potential allies with the Diamond Kingdom after this with Mars and stuff, and then they just have to defeat the Spade. They have to defeat Dark Triad, and it's like bam, the Spade Resistance guys will already own them one, so like they can just use all these connections and unite the four kingdoms, because they won't have a reason to have conflict with each other anymore, and that would be a perfect way to segue into going to other continents. No, Natsu and Gray, not Naruto and Gray. It's been almost 1 year since Crunchyroll messed up Japanese break on Eden Zero. Oh yeah, I remember that. I'm assuming Finral and the rest of the Black Bulls are going to be escorting Asta because he needs transportation. No, he doesn't. I mean, Asta can get there. It would just take longer than a portal, but he could fly there, and he could probably get there faster. I think it'd be cooler as if you had like an Asta race against the clock thing. I think that would be cool. Like he's already showing up late. I think it'd be really badass. It's like they're in dire situations. It's kind of like when Ichigo left Royal Palace to go to the Soul Society. It's like he's heading there, and then you get like 2 or 3 chapters later, and it's like right when you have like events start to go downhill, Asta makes this move, and then like 2 or 3 chapters later when stuff gets really bad, and then Asta shows up. That's what I'm hoping it ends up being like. I'm about to say something controversial. I don't know if that's a good idea. We're actually thinking about the devil that was encased in ice. I'm just curious to know its explanation. I am really hoping that I'm hoping it's straight stated. I want it straight stated that it's not even close to as powerful as the demon that Licht was. Because otherwise, like, Mereoleona, unless Mereoleona is outright stated to be Wizard King level, actually, I don't even know if I want that, because that would be such a huge boost for her already. But I mean, like, she was already close in that kind of like area between Captain and Wizard King. I mean, like, it's not something that's impossible, but I think though, having her that busted, like if she's able just to defeat this devil, even if it's an artificial devil, and if it's not stated to be weaker than the one that Licht was, and then Mereoleona beats it, I think that'll be like really bad for power, like consistent power levels and like the structure of the story, considering who it was. It was Lumir that defeated him, and Lumir was the first Wizard King. He was a 4-leaf Clover Grimoire user. He was a royal. Like he's got so many of the best things. No, and he's had light magic, so he had a rare magic on top of all these things. So he had all these great things checked off already, and he's supposed to be like that old paragon of legends. So Mereoleona, if she was already stronger than him, I think that'd be a bad idea. Like, I don't mind characters being stronger than Lumir way later on, but I think this early on, and especially like the first display after a time skip of only 6 months, I think would be a bad idea. How do you think Shura's Zero Gravity War? I mean, I'm perfectly fine with it being the same as Shiki's, just because like it's gravity manipulation. It's not like it's gravity manipulation and it's like, oh, this branch lets you do one thing and this branch lets you do other. I mean, I think it'll really just come down to like how each of them use it. It's kind of hard to say, just because it's one of those things that you have to have like you have to have something to compare it to really do. But we didn't really see anything different with Ziggy's gravity manipulation that wasn't just like Shiki's but bigger scale. We didn't really get anything that's like, oh, kind of like Dante, when Dante used his gravity he's essentially using gravity, the idea of gravity to warp space, so he's warping himself to not be there kind of like idea. It'd be like if you had something like where it's explained how like, oh, my gravity does this, so Shiki makes like a wormhole, but it's like Shura's is different, so maybe he makes a black hole. Kind of like how you have Finral and Langris are both spatial users, but Langres is a offensive spatial user, whereas Finral is a support spatial user. I guess that's probably the better way to describe it. It's like the base stem of the powers is the same in concept and origin, but they've just developed into different variations. It's kind of hard to say, like, right now, just because we don't really have much to go off of for Shura. Like, we only really have him do, like, a basic gravity, anti-gravity thing. Naruto and Gray would be like, nah, fuck those guys. Nah, no. Sasuke wouldn't do that. Sasuke is too chill now. He'd probably be like, oh, yeah, what's going on? He doesn't really talk as much or really come off. Like, Sasuke's never angry anymore. I know this dude. He's too of that, like, Itachi, like, dead, not dead emotion, but he's too calm, I feel. I'd like to see some good old, like, cocky, like, glare with, like, the mad face. And kind of like, that angry, smug look that Sasuke would have sometimes when he was, younger. I wish he would have some of those again. Instead of just, like, I have been in control of this fight the whole time. Kind of, like, just that kind of, very bleak. He does it. It's like almost Aizen without the Aizen trolling thing. And without, like, the trolling face. It's too dead emotion, and it's like dead emotion sounds really negative, but I mean, like, it's not negative, it just sounds negative. But like, I do really hope we can get some Sasuke. I really want to get some, like, arrogant Sasuke scene again. Like, I haven't been so long. What's up, Carrot? How's it going? How are you though today? It's funny to hear Rax curse. I curse all the time. Are you serious? I actually, at Small Rax lore, there's a guy that I work with, and he's religious, so I try not to curse too much with him because I swear a lot. I was in the military, I was in the Navy, so like I swear a lot. And it's not like I've met those guys who swear a lot just because they want to have swear words in their conversations. I just swear kind of like more in just like the way to talk. Like I use it more in, like, if I say like there's a video I saw the other day that it was like Stan Lee. He was saying how fuck was like the greatest word ever because it's like everything. It's like you can use it in so many different ways. That's kind of like the way that I use swear words for the most part. Like I said, like you could say like fuck as it's like a verb or a noun, and like I'll do all these different things with it. But like I try not to swear too much around like my friend because he's religious. And then in Josuke streams and stuff generally, Quan and J Cloud, they don't like to swear a lot. So I try. It's like the same thing. I try not to swear, but like you can tell the difference is like when I get riled up and I really want to talk about something, I can't help it because at that point I'm speaking as fluidly as possible. I'm on a verbal train onto a topic that I want to go at it as naturally and just as organically as I can. So like I just talk way more as like my standard way, and so like I end up swearing more. Get involved with the whole time shit. Oh yeah, of course she's gonna get revolved. That's her power. Demon Lord Megiddo from Wraith Mask versus Laxus. Laxus bodies the shit out of Megiddo. The thing about Megiddo that hurts him is he doesn't really have any hacks. That was back when Mishima wasn't as, like, Mishima would have some broken powers, but Mishima wasn't nearly as busted as like he gets now. Like now when Mishima, like as we saw like in Fairy Tail, Mishima when he's like, I'm gonna have a big busted character now, he does it. Like if you took current Mishima and had him redesigned, like if you said, hey, I want to see what your current, like you as of now, how you would have made those guys, like Megiddo for example, back then, Megiddo would have probably like 2 or 3 more powers, or at least 2 or 3 more fire powers, and he would have at least one broken ass ability that it's like, holy shit, how do you get around this? Gojo versus Kakashi? I mean, Satoru should beat him. Like, the only thing, like, Kakashi, even if you count, like, total Kakashi, the only thing Kakashi should have, like, he's got the Kamui, and, like, Kamui Shuriken. But other than that, I don't think he has anything to really do anything to Satoru. Like, Gojo, like, the thing about Gojo is he has a combination of 4 really good hacks. Actually, 5, well, no. His Infinity is a good hack, is a good form of hacks. I'd say, though, that his best hacks, no, hang on, let me restart this. Because I was going to count his eyes, but his eyes are kind of like in the same level as Infinity, where they're good, but they're not like high level hacks. I'd say his highest, his expansion is like 1 step above like Infinity and stuff. His biggest hacks are teleportation and his spatial manipulation to the point he's making void stuff. Because that idea, he can make a void and then teleport right in front of you or behind you or whatever, drop it on you. And so he's got a way, he's got like a broken hacks that he can, in a degree, get right on top of you. Because that's the big thing about like the way he fights, is he's hard to hit, but he has a really broken power that he has ways of easily just dropping it on you. Like I said, he can use expansion to overload you and just kind of go up and do it to you, or he can teleport and do it. Kakashi doesn't have that, but then in Kakashi's position, like the only thing that really relates to them is that they're both mentor-ish. And then if you want to say like white hair and like somewhat of an eye power, but I mean like that's more of like reaching rather than like, you can kind of say with like the mentoring stuff, and I guess kind of like the whole like Obito kind of thing with like Geto and Obito, sort of, but not really, because it's not like Naruto even invented that. But I mean like they're not really comparable characters from either side. Rebecca powers. I wish Rebecca's powers were different. Well, I think the time powers are cool. I like it. I think it's really interesting the way that Mishima's been implementing it so far. And like I've said, I trust Mishima with this, because Mishima is one of those people that has shown that he does time hacks a lot. He does time shenanigans a lot. So he knows he needs to have limitations set up. He needs to have ideas, the way that it can show up in his story. And if he's going to do something with it, like what he did with like kind of like how in Fairy Tail he had the whole like, oh, the Eclipse Gate, when it broke, it was like their timeline was so damaged that it wouldn't kind of like just kind of time shenanigans fix itself, kind of like you've seen in some movies. It was like the strain damage is there, like what we saw with like how the Eclipse Gate works and stuff, making the space between time and whatnot. But like you see that he has these stuff implemented, that his time travel is its own rules and its own limitations and its own consequences. Like, Rave Master, the Endless, like he thinks of these things beforehand, rather than just like, you know what, I'm gonna have time travel in this next arc. He gets it way more grounded out than most big writers that implement time travel. And I know Mishima's not, I can't say like Mishima's the greatest time travel writer ever. No, but if I had to like, if you had to like write a list of like, these are the best time travel, writers, I would put Mishima in there, just for Mishima's consistency with time travel based things. Like, it's not like none of his series are like main focus time travel, but time shenanigans is rather, I'm going to say. Time shenanigans always plays a crucial role. Group for Erasion 6 or Erasion 6? Probably the Erasion 6, just I really like Cobra. I like Cobra. I like the whole stuff with Kinana. And then I like what Mishima did with Angel. I think he just did more with the Erasion 6 than he did with the Erasion 6. I think the Erasion 6 had a lot of stuff potentially set up, but other than like Sieg and Shuda, it's like you had Julius, almost like Julius you felt like was going to get a lot more and then didn't. And then who else was it? I never liked Rain. I never liked what he did with I thought what he did with Reina. Actually, let me rephrase that. I liked what he did with Reina from like an emotional point, but I think he should have done way more, and I do wish that he didn't kill her so he could have way more to do with her. Because even if she died, I don't think her death was really cool. I love the part when music is there and he's like in sorry, I've accidentally spoiled that. It's not, I'll tell you right now, it's not a spoiler enough that it's gonna like, damn, I can't believe it, because it's not big enough that it's kind of like, here's what I'll compare it to. It's kind of like Lisana coming back, where it was like, whoa, that was surprising. It's something that, was really interesting, and it had like a really cool tie to the story. But it's like after that, there's not a lot where it kind of comes in again. And it's that same kind of thing with Lisana coming back, where it's like, it's cool, but like not a lot comes out of it afterwards. Whereas like, where it's not like, I'm trying to think of a character right now that something happens to him and it's like a very reoccurring thing. Oh, thank you very much for another $2 super chat. Let me see, what happened if, oh, hey, let me get to the Makarov stuff. Let me finish this and I'll get to the Makarov stuff, because I forgot to say what I wanted to about Makarov, because you already gave me the super chat for it. I said I was going to do it, but as you can tell, I rambled on, I got sidetracked. But it's that same kind of idea where it just doesn't go anywhere after the cool part. It's not like again like Irene's death. Irene died, and there's still stuff coming out of it afterwards. Or Makarov coming back. Makarov dying and then coming back, and it was like, that was really weird. I know a lot of people didn't like that, but I like what Mishima did with it afterwards. I liked what he did with Wraith, and I'm gonna save that part to talk about for when I do my Makarov video, because it's a really important thing I want to talk about at Makarov. Which also, I'm just gonna tell you guys like, my plans for this is I want to do characters. I'm gonna do them in probably a more story structure. Like, I'm probably gonna start early and then keep progressing as I was when I was doing my rereads, which I gotta get back to. But I want to get I want to get a character bio thing structure done first. But my kind of like my plans to do that is gonna be is kind of gonna be almost like a one-shot kind of idea. Because the ones that I'm going to do first, I'm going to do it on the dryers, and then after that I'm going to try and do in like order of the series. But I'm going to do Makarov, Yuri, Ivan, and then Laxus. And then I'll start doing other characters in probably like a much more structured order. But I'm going to start with the dryers just because they're part of the origins of the guild, and I really want to talk about Makarov. But oh yeah, talk about Makarov dying in 100 Years Quest. I'm going to make it real short, real solid, and just really why I think he shouldn't die in the story in the way like you'd expect. Makarov's death at this point should be of old age. Makarov should die peacefully in his bed or like at the guild in a bar, like just sitting, like maybe drinking or resting in a spot he really liked, maybe hanging out with Laxus. It has to be something that's really just, I think, a happy, natural, like old age kind of thing. I think Makarov deserves it after like how far he survived in the story, but also just how much bullshit Makarov has had to deal with in life. And again, I'm saving a lot of that for my Makarov video, and I'm gonna go into a full explanation of why that makes sense, of why I say Makarov deserves it in the video itself. But yeah, let me get to your other super chat really quick, just because I don't want it to be. Oh yeah, what happened to Lucy's feature timeline in Grand Magic Games arc? I would imagine they wouldn't exist. I imagine the idea of the timeline would either kind of like, actually no, because it can't do that. I was thinking it more for the Back to the Future ways. I think the way that timeline would go would be kind of like the Future Trunks timeline, where it'd be still existent, but it's either done in a way to fix it, where maybe it's done in a way where it's like, oh, in that timeline, it either kind of just, stays in calamity and it's just very painful and they could recover, which I don't know how they would. So all these dragons around and maybe it just led forever into apocalypse, or which I think it did, and it would make sense considering everybody else in the guild is dead and they can go live in heaven, or fairy tale equivalent afterlife, or it's like it auto fixes itself. But I don't think so, considering it looks like future Lucy died. I think her timeline just ended in apocalypse, and it's just one of those inevitable timelines. It's weird to think about, but I feel like that's just more likely thing that happened, given like with Mishima's like the results of destroying the gate and whatnot, and like the fact we saw future Lucy, instead of it being like, oh, we destroyed the gate so these events didn't happen, so you never would have had to come back kind of thing, kind of set up so it's like her alive again. I think it's more of like, your world is already screwed, but we can send you the afterlife from what Mishima was displayed with. I think that's also why he killed her. What if Asta's swords bathe in dragon blood and gain powers to kill dragons? I don't want that. I don't think that'd be cool with just Asta's base thing, because I don't want Asta to get any extra powers. Plus, if Black Clover dragons implement something like that, or then they would have to, like, for one, it would make dragons such a considerable threat in Black Clover to the point where everybody would have to do that. Otherwise, like, is Asta going to be the only one to kill dragons? Like, I don't know. As in Berserk, it's not that his sword soaked in dragon's blood. It's the sword soaked in all these monsters' blood and demons and spirits and stuff, to where he's able to hurt things like that are on a different plane of existence, because you have all these things from a different dimension. His sword essentially gained the power of these otherworldly, to hit these otherworldly invaders from their powers of that other world. Whereas like Dragon Slayer itself was made in the idea of they needed a big and heavy enough sword to behead a dragon. And I think it would be a bad idea to give that to Asta, just from the story structure of what it would do to Black Clover. Blood is made of iron knife. Yeah, but I don't think that would work. Trailer Meaning Zero should come out anytime soon. I'm hoping so. I really want to see the trailer. I haven't really made any kind of like ideas on the anime videos, because I want to wait for the trailer. I meant to do that for Jujutsu Kaisen, but I don't know, I'm just lazy.
Can race slay creatures by spiritual arts?
I would assume so. I would assume so, because it's still spiritual magic. It's still spiritual in nature, so I feel like it would have spiritual art aspects to it. Just like how dragon fire is still fire, but it has the dragon aspect to it. But that still changed the fact that still has the fact it has fire aspect to it. So I assume spiritual dragon would still have spirit stuff in it.
Diablos have not a reason to go after the guild.
That's what I'm saying, is there would have to have a really good reason to go after a whole guild, because so far Diablos hasn't been displayed as evil. Because like when Mishima has evil people, like they're just, you know, they're gonna show it. They're gonna be indiscriminately kill people that they don't give a shit about. They're gonna do whatever they feel like, and anyone who gets in their way dies. And well, not even anyone who gets in their way. A lot of the time, like when he wants to, there's like antagonists and there's evil. If they were evil, like we would have seen it by now. Because they're going after the dragon gods, and like as far as the people know, the dragon gods are bad and are a problem. Mercephobia so far has been the only one that is like reformed, trying to be good, and the fairy tale members are like, to their perspective, are getting in their way, and like they're not gonna back down for a fight. Neither of these sides are gonna back down for a fight. So you just have two groups that, you know, will clash if necessary, or honestly, if like for these guys, for Kyria, not so. It's like, we'll clash if the opportunity arises, but they're also, you know, competing now over their missions. And then you have stuff with like Mercephobia. It's like, well, they didn't want it. Fairy Tale group didn't want to kill Mercephobia, whereas the Diablos members did. So then it was at that point it became a conflict of goals and interests on top of just like their own nature of the quest itself. What if Asta was in Commence on a Yaiba and in Cheer and Blade is imbued with INT magic? I mean, he's one-shotting everybody. He's one-shotting everybody in that. Yeah, I mean, like, that's all that would really happen. I mean, the only other thing would be like he did look cool in some Japanese clothing. Without Deku, do you think Arsenal solos class 1A? Yeah, easy. He might. No, I would say he might beat Deku, but like the thing is right now that hurts Arsenal in that idea is the big downside right now for Wise, obviously, in his Arsenal suit is like he can't stay in it for very long. So the idea of him versus Deku, I feel like Deku would be smart enough to keep distance with him and try and figure him out, whereas like like Bakugo would try and get up in his face, and that kind of more fast-paced fight I think would be more in Arsenal's favor, whereas like Deku would try and fight at a more kind of paced setup, and he would kind of like, he would have it to where it would be at Arsenal, you know, the disadvantage of the Arsenal suit. I definitely switch my position on that if he can solve that problem at some point soon, because that is definitely the biggest negative right now for how Wise fights, and that's a pretty solid balancer early on in the series, in my opinion. No doubt, Shirt's gravity bars will be different. They don't have to be. I'm perfectly fine with them being the same. I mean, it really at that point just comes down to like, because you know, the characters, which I think is going to be more important. Because it's not like they're going to be, like, even if they have the exact same powers, it's not like they're going to be immune to each other. Because that's the big difference when I think that if you looked at it from, like, Slayers, like, you can't have the same thing against each other for Slayers without very specifics, because they're going to just, you know, consume their attribute and whatnot. Whereas, like, these guys, they can, like, you know, Shura can still hit Shiki with a gravity attack, and if Shiki just doesn't do his own counter in time, he'll still get hurt. Let's see. Scoleon's so strong. His parents legit named him Scoleon. I think his name is cool. I like it. Scoleon, I really like Scoleon's name. He's probably, out of the Diablos members name-wise, I like his probably the most. I think Scoleon Raider just sounds damn cool. Scoleon Raider is a cool name, and especially like Scoleon by itself is cool, and then the way that his last name just kind of goes into it. I like Scoleon a lot. Scoleon's my favorite of Diablo so far, and I'm really hoping his Dragon Force form looks badass. He's a corpse dragon. Out of all of them, I have my biggest hopes for, and I know he's not the strongest member of Diablos, but I'm hoping he becomes the strongest member of Diablos. And I don't think that's going to happen, but I just got my thumbs up and hopes for that guy, because I like him. I mean, I think it's just one of those like series names. I mean, a lot of the characters have names that have to do with their powers. I mean, look at Juvia. Do you think Juvia's parents named her because she knew she was gonna have water and rain powers? I don't think so. Or relatively like throw a rock at a character. Throw a rock at a character in a lot of series. It's like your powers probably came before the name, from a creative standpoint. I would assume. Unless it's like, I want this name, and then powers came second, and it was just like more of like that concept. But I mean, either way, there's no way that his parents were like, oh yeah, you're in Scullion. One day you'll be a corpse dragon slayer, my son. So the Magic Knight comes are ready to go, get some payback and Spade. What do you think their chances are? I think they're gonna be fine. The thing right now, legitimately the thing right now that hurts the Spade, that I think will be shown in the next couple chapters, is they don't have a lot of big stuff outside the Dark Triad. Granted, now they have this new demon, but you have multiple captains from the Clover that are really powerful. You have Asta's training coming in. You have Dorothy here, which I think is going to be really big. Because Dorothy, even if Dorothy I don't think is as raw powerful as someone like Yami, she's still tricky. And Mereoleona's back. Mereoleona's definitely going to, and obviously going to show, like, she's going to, bring more of this war than just, hey, I hit harder now. And then you have Gaja on his way at some point. You have Mars. Like, the Spade has to have high-level Dark Disciples. They have to bust out stuff that can deal with, like, the sheer numbers of people that are coming their way. Because it can't just be the Dark Triad. And that's the big thing that I think they need to have show up soon. Otherwise, I think legitimately that they're going to just get overwhelmed. And it will just be their fights. But I think Tabata definitely has that planned out. I think we just haven't seen the good Dark Disciples yet. Like, Irma's gonna go through traumatized flashback. I really want to get through this guy, but I mean, like, I can't wait to see Mueller just smash. I can't wait to see this dude destroyed and out of the way. He's a character that, like, I hoped we never had to see again, but if he ever came back, I want him to get fodderized and humiliated. Like, I want it to be like Hacker Spider, where, like, he humiliates himself as he loses. Dude pissed his pants when he got tricked, and then when gotten shot in the face. Like, he got shot in the head without even realizing it, killed when he thought things were going his way. I want something like that to happen with Mueller, because fuck that guy. I'm way more interested in seeing these members of B Squad 1, Justice, Elsie, and see what's going on with them. I think it's way more interesting. The Albus members has to eat at least one dragon god. So they don't. The thing is, like, that I want an explanation exactly on 5th gen, but I don't think they would have to eat a full dragon god. I think that if they could eat a piece of one, I think, because I think it's the eating of the dragon meat itself that does, like, is what makes a 5th gen. I think it has to do with you're consuming and integrating dragon DNA into your body is my guess is how it works. It's just a different process. So I think, like, if you were fighting, say, Celine, and you cut off one of her fingers, I think if one of the Diablos members just ate the finger, I think they would get way more powerful. I think they would get that boost. Which, again, Dragon Slayer Jalal, come on. Home for it. It could happen. Luffy versus Asta. I still think Asta can't beat Luffy. I think Luffy is a good example of somebody who just, in a lot of ways, counters Asta. He's physically stronger. He's got way more combat experience. He's a hand-to-hand combat fighter. He's close range, very close range. At that, and somebody who can keep close range. And on top of that, he's faster. He's got precog. He doesn't have magic. The only thing that Asta really has, I think, that would really play into his favors is that I personally think Asta's swords would break through armament hockey. Because with energy equalization, I think you would kind of treat armament hockey the same way as something like Monoskin and stuff. So I can see that, but I don't think that would matter. I think Luffy would still crush him. At least right now. Maybe end of series Asta's different. But I think Luffy is just a bad matchup for Asta by the way their powers work, in my opinion. Not even my opinion, honestly. What am I talking about? In straight observation and facts. Never Dark Triad member? Oh, Dante. 100%. Yeah, me too, Dante. Haru and Lucia's rivalry reminds me of Deku's and Shigaragi's. Yeah, I can see that too. Xenon the goat. Xenon's cool, but, like, I think Dante's just way more interesting. I think Dante's whole setup is way more interesting. Aizen versus Marv versus Zeref, who wins? Zeref's way more broken than them. I'd say Aizen is the smartest in terms of just, like, planning and being a tactician, but Zeref is so much more broken than they are. Cause like even Aizen, like Aizen, you know, he's got Kyoka Suigetsu, he's got his Black Coffin and stuff, but like Zeref's broken is across the board. Zeref's got so much, and like Madar's just kind of there for trying to figure out what to do. Like if you like the one thing that would be a really bad thing, especially if you gave their power ups. Like, I don't think Aizen would have the capability of controlling Fairy Heart or the space between time, but I think Zeref I think would easily figure out how the Hokyokyu works. Because the difference between Zeref and Aizen is smarter. Like, I think Aizen is smarter from, like I said, strategy, tactical, tacticians wise, but also I think in straight IQ. But I think in terms of like understanding like the ideas, like with Zeref's is like magical understanding, inventions of magical objects and stuff. And I think you would treat stuff like the Hokyokyu in that same area. So I think Zeref would just figure it out way easier. I think it would probably take him a moment. I think it would take him like a minute or so. Because like you look at like Irene. Irene was a genius. Like Irene was already somebody you could kind of see as like a genius in magic. Super powerful. And dragon buffs on top of that. She couldn't mess with her dragon form for 400 years of trying. Zeref walks up, snaps his fingers. Zeref walks up, sees the problem, fixes it. Not fully, because Zeref couldn't, like the way that he did it is he was able to essentially just, like, shapeshifter and do these things. It wasn't, like, the same thing as, like, he just altered her genetic structure. That's a whole different kind of feat. But Zeref was able to kind of see the problem she couldn't figure out in just changing her body and however it is for a dragon and just done it. Like, he's super adept at just figuring stuff out. You could look at on Mavis had her curse too. Zeref is just really good at that at way more power and power and power accessories. I liked that I got the I've been rewatching King of the Hill. I like that I got to use a little bit of reference. Power system and power system thing accessories are like Zeref saying, where Aizen's is IQ and like being tactical. Like if you put Zeref and Aizen like said try and outsmart each other, I think Aizen would win. Whereas give him the Hokyokyu and say figure out how this works, Zeref I think would figure that out in a heartbeat. Ah, there's the one about Makarov. Man, I'm way more behind. Way more behind than I thought. Rax Ring, Rave Master Far. I see why here made Fairy Tail much lighter. What? No. Have you read the manga? Like, Fairy Tail and Rave Master are very similar, as well as Eden Zero, in the dark parts of what they're doing. The difference is Fairy Tail's anime is way more well-known than Rave Master's anime. It's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh's, not the same level of, like, dark gap between what you get. But, like, you look at Yu-Gi-Oh's anime, there's a huge gap between the dark aspects in the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, and then there's the sub and the dub. If you're a dub only, you don't have no idea how dark stuff gets in the manga. Whereas, like, you skip over a lot of the darker shonen aspects for Fairy Tail in the anime. But, like, you look at, like, Kid Jalal, he's, like, murdering people, splattering guys. You have, like, Tartarus that starts out with back-to-back mass murders. But, like, when you read the manga, or watch the Fairy Tail anime, you don't see it as much. And that's what I'm saying. They're like, the same kind of tones, like, really. When you think about some of like the darker parts in Rave Master, and then you think of the darker parts in Fairy Tail, Mishima knows like how to make her scenes like a lot more morbid and dark. It's just he just doesn't do it as often as you'd expect. And like when you have an arc for the most part, I think like Grand Magic Games where the point is it's supposed to be uplifting. It's the bright hopes of Fairy Tail returning to their glory, and they're climbing back from the top, hope and just like and the emotional drive and stuff. And you have like it's still got dark parts, but it doesn't have any of those like again Tartarus dark parts or brainwashed dark parts with Jalal and stuff. Some of like Zeref stuff, Acnologia's brutality and whatnot. You don't see stuff like that in like arcs like that for like the Grand Magic Games. Whereas like I think one of the things different for Rave Master is like when Rave Master like they do stuff with like Demon Card and stuff, but like Demon Card was such an overarching group that whenever you saw like there's a scene where you see like them hanging people and stuff. It's like a scene like that I think kind of is more memorable in terms of like when you compare it for like a group again that is way more frequent than one group in Fairy Tail, because like for Fairy Tail's equivalent it's like Zeref, as Zeref was in there, like Zeref is tied to all these things, but Zeref's group isn't as like tied into like events in the story to the end as like what demon card was. I think is the best way to really describe it. If Jalal gets Sling's powers, it could open a portal. Again, that's another thing that could work. Heavenly body dragon slayer, or just a heavenly dragon slayer, something Jalal, and they could work it in there. I really want that to happen. It could work. That's the best part about it. I honestly want Jalal to be involved. I do too. I think he will be. I think it'd be really weird for Mishima to have that scene at the end of the chapter when he's like he can love Urza now, and like you saw like the moon in the background the way it was. It'd be really weird for Mishima to have imagery like that and not include Jalal. Do you think Dorothy could replicate Julius? No. I'm guessing that the way that her ability works, it has to do with her level, kind of like Gemini, where Gemini can only copy people that is equal or less than that of their summoner. But I also think it has to do with like, I think it also has to do with like their techniques as well. Kind of like Raya, because Raya can't just steal everybody's abilities the second he touches their book. He can take aspects of them as well. But my guess is like I don't think that Dorothy could just like with her Yami clone. I don't think he would just have like he could just drop every spell that Yami has. I really hope we can get an explanation on that because it's such a it's a power that we've saw wasn't like it's not like a no limits fallacy power like with the idea of like the base idea of Dorothy's power. Because like if it was, and like that Yami would be equal to to our Yami, but it clearly wasn't. So there are limitations. We just don't know them yet. We don't know them in direct statements yet. I think is the better way to say it. Because obviously, in the idea, if what she did was unlimited, then it's like okay, then why did she just make? If she made 2 Yamis or whatever, or even 1 Yami, that Yami would be equal. So it'd just literally be two equal forces clashing. It wouldn't make sense for one to win or to beat the other unless it was some way of technique. But I don't think it would really come down to that based on what we saw. So I would like to have the explanation on what her limitations are, because there's no way that Tabata made Dorothy have this strong of a power and didn't say okay, but these are the things that like you get around her power, or these are her limitations. It'd just be weird. It'd be like if Mishima introduced Rusty Rose way later, so he had his arc of embodiment, arc of imagination, but to a higher degree, but never gave any explanations as to like his limitations. Like the way that he did that, like with Rusty Rose, is he stated there were limitations and restrictions and whatnot and rules, but he didn't state them. But Rusty Rose at the time wasn't that powerful. Like he was strong at the time, like when you really like when you look at where he was, but the overarching when you compare to like what big people were, like imagine him as a Spriggan. Like us not getting it way lower, I think is fine, but Dorothy obviously is way more like she has a higher role position than Rusty Rose. She's a more powerful character, but on top of that, unless she dies, she's gonna continue on and get stronger. So I'm willing to bet Tabata has, written down in a notebook. These are the limitations to Dorothy. Like maybe I don't know. It's kind of weird to think about, but at the same time, it's necessary and it's very likely. Let me keep going just because I don't want to sit on this Dorothy thing very long. Yes, I don't think she can replicate Julius. Otherwise, she'd be the strongest character. Not at me. Let's see. Makarov is crab, lobster. I don't know this joke. Who has better character development, Ichigo, Naruto, or Luffy? Probably Ichigo. Really, when you look at like early Ichigo and then saw like later, the thing about Ichigo's is more like in his maturity and kind of like how he approaches stuff. Because like early Ichigo was a delinquent. Like he was like this delinquent with like a good heart, but like by the end of it, he was a lot more adult-like, is how I kind of want to say it, when he approached a lot of scenarios and situations, a lot of ways that he just kind of presented himself. His development is kind of like, a lot of it is kind of like Natsu's, but Natsu's is done in a way that keeps a lot of, like when we see Natsu pull pranks, like Mishima's done it in a way to keep that aspect of Natsu, of him having that kind of fun kind of like childlike aspect to him, but maturing in the way, again, that he looks at scenarios, approaches things, handles people at an individual level, like we saw with Merphobia when he realized that Merphobia was trying to become a good person. He saw the error in his ways. He wanted to become a better being. not hurt people, not indiscriminately kill and slaughter and stuff. And again, I almost said Naruto. This is what happens when they keep switching between characters and then you have ones with similar names. But Natsu, you see, like, it's like with Jalal, like, he knows that this is somebody who wants to be better. So he knows that they aren't inherently bad people anymore. And then you saw with Alderaan, he's like, no, there's no saving you, you're rotten to the core, you're inherently a bad person, and you are a danger, not only to the world, but, you know, to his, obviously by adjacent relation, his friends in his guild. So, no, he's going to take him out, because anybody who is a direct threat to the guild, that is where Natsu is like, I can kill somebody. Because we saw that with Zareth. Zareth was a threat to the guild at like a... It's not like, not like the council, where the council was like at a more systematic, like, you know, obviously they could, you know, the government style and maybe disband them or whatever. But with Zareth, it was like, no, he's got a lethal level of threat to the guild. And that's what Alderaan kind of came to be with. That's where Natsu is fine with killing somebody. And Mercephobia, obviously, he wouldn't. So, like, that's kind of like where I see it with, like, Ichigo. I don't really like Luffy a lot of times as a character, because Luffy's kind of like, there's a guy in Lord of the Rings, Tom Bombadil, where he's kind of goofy, but he's really powerful, and people like him, and he's got, like, you know, he's very tied in the story and important. And that's kind of like how I see Luffy, but, like, he's one of those characters you can like, but I'm like, he's like this fun, powerful, whimsical idiot, like, character in his story. I know he has some development and some progress, but, like, I don't see a lot of it, and I'm just not a fan of him, but I really like what Asta's done, and I wish that people need to give Asta more credit. Saw Waruto just time stop. Akno eats magic. He has time. Wait, what is this? Wait, I missed this. Where is this? Where is this? Oh, it's because I accidentally skimmed a little bit. Hashimir versus Toribot versus Goda? What? That's kind of weird, because, like, one's a nickname, one's a character, and I don't know what the other one was. Wait, what is this? Draken versus Burial from Rave? Draken kills the shit out of him. Burial had, like, 0 hacks. What are few aliens in the Eden Zero crew? I don't know. Mishima hasn't really done much with aliens yet. Like, he's had a couple alien, like, characters, but we haven't really delved into species or, like, we haven't really had much interaction with them really at all. And, like, we had, like, Maria, and then we had, like, Draken Joe's assistant guy and Kurnai's assistant. But, we haven't really done a lot with aliens, so I think that's really just the TLDR reason. Question, can you list all the times Natsu has lost a battle? I had to go over some videos on that. Did I do a video on that already? I mean, you can look at stuff like the first time he fought Jackal, when he fought Gildarts, the first time he fought Zero, the first encounter with Laxus, like, lower times with people like Urza. I mean, like, it's not like, I'm trying to think of any, like, later on, because I don't think Natsu really, like, lost any fights in the last arc, just based on, like, what happened, him having Dragon Force and, you know, having, like, Savage Dragonfire and stuff, and, like, where it was positioned. But, like, he pretty much lost against Silver. I mean, that Silver just noped him. Again, he lost against Jackal the first time. They kind of weird when you want to look at it, like, really, they lost the first encounter. They lost the first encounter with Hades. It wasn't, and he lost the first encounter with Zenkro. It was because Laxus showed up that Natsu was able to get a second attempt at fighting Hades. And then it was, obviously, with Elentir giving them the tree back and then taking down Hades' heart, that they were able to all get power back, so they're able to kind of essentially have a third attempt at fighting this guy. You can look at it as one long fight, but from their standpoint as, like, their character levels, Natsu really had to go 3 attempts into beating him. I mean, he kind of lost that. I mean, he really did honestly lose to Acnology in reality, because they tried to fight him the first time. He went to go fight him the second time. There was no chance Natsu could fight him, and Natsu lost Igneo, so really he lost that. Wendy versus Yami? Man, people are going to get mad at me, because, I'm going to say Wendy. Because the thing is, I know, like, when you really look at it, it'd be, like, upsetting that, Wendy's a cute, silly little loli in some aspects, but she is powerful. And when you compare where she's at, it's just, like, she's just at such a higher threshold in, like, levels of, again, power levels compared to Yami. I mean, like, it's true. Like, stuff that they've done and like areas they're at and like feats is just, it's way higher than what Black Clover has. And again, before anybody in there is like a fan of Yami, and it's like the idea of Yami losing to this 15-year-old little loli, it's, you have to look at like knowing the context behind like how powerful this holy is. I mean, that's just Dragon Force, and she can nope cancel out like a lot of what Yami can do. Like the idea of like Yami's buff from his mana zone, do 0. Sorry, you don't get it anymore. Oh, you know, she can separation enchantment, take out magic out of his body. I mean, I guess that's more of like the idea of like how Irene uses it. But like she has Irene, and Irene can teach her that. Lenny's just so much better, and like any form of physical enhancement magic, any more of magical buffs, even Monoskin, when he cancels it, do 0. You don't get that anymore. Like Wendy's legitimately really powerful. People don't give her enough credit because she's not as strong in comparison to like Natsu, but she's also, you know, she's the youngest out of the 5, and she's a loli, so it's like people look at her from that point. She look at her fact, you know, she's you know, a cute 15-year-old little kid, and you know, you look at all these other big people. It's kind of like Lucy. Like Lucy is done, and obviously like a lot of times she's, you know, put in the fan service role. She gets kind of memed on a lot. She gets goofed on by scenes like we saw at the Flowers, but Lucy's actually very powerful. The thing is, like, when you look at power of the main cast, she just is, she's able to keep up with the other members, but she's not obviously like Natsu and Gray in terms of raw power. But she's got her own traits and her own skills and whatnot. But if you look at it from the standpoint of just the main cast, she's not as powerful as them. But you look at it really from the world, she's actually like a really high-level wizard. I mean, Haru's father death was only really sad to me when I heard Mishima's inspiration for it. Yeah, Mishima, I mean, that was sad in general, because like Haru, I mean, obviously Mishima's situation is sad, but Haru hated his dad for years because he thought his dad left him. He thought his dad ditched their family. His mom died. His mom died afterwards. His sister had to raise him, and then stuff like everything after that. He put a lot of blame onto his dad, and then you found out why, and he found out like why his dad had to leave them. He found out like he finally got to meet his dad, and then he finds out he's been wrong the whole time, and then he dies. Like it sucks. It was really rough. It was really sad from a Haru standpoint. You have to look at it from his perspective. Almost a sword that mirror attacks. I don't know what that means. Arax, where are there so few? I already answered this in the aliens. Irene's big brain. Yeah, she's definitely one of those more intelligent characters. Favorite Mishima power up? I mean, honestly, Dragon Force and like Overdrive in the concept to me, because Rave Master doesn't have that in concept. Because the concept, but for them, is that both of them are an eventual upgraded form that come with the power. Whereas Ether Gear is like if all magics in Fairy Tail did it. But they're both in a way that it's like, in a concept idea, they're kind of like very similar. But in a power levels or a power system implementation, they aren't. Because Slayer magic is a specific branch of magic. Whereas Ether Gears are like the idea of magic in general. Okay, you know, because I was trying to I was like halfway stopped myself when I said okay, like I was going to do it, because I found a better way to explain it. It's like in Fairy Tail, it's like, okay, pick your power, and it's like you had a list of magic. Whereas like and it would have all these different magics. Whereas like it'd be like pick your power, pick your Ether Gear, and it would have Ether Gear as like the idea. Whereas like Fairy Tales in that same sense, it'd be like if you compared Dragon Force and Overdrive and kind of put them in the same pedestal, it would be like Ether Gear or it'd be like Overdrive, pick your Ether Gear, and be like Dragon Force, pick your Dragon attribute. One is an attribute, one is a whole power in and of itself, and it might have an attribute. Again, it's kind of weird when you think about it, just because of that whole like very base concept. But then they're also different in implementation. Because Dragon Force is the slow eventual progression into becoming a dragon. But Dragon Force itself, it's a temporary increase. But it's not part of your permanent increase. Whereas Overdrive, it's like you're fusing with your Ether Gear. So it's both the idea of this power, regardless of the attribute or the Ether Gear specific, you will have you will have said power up if you achieve that level. Kind of like how in Bleach, you have a Zanpakuto. You could be a Keto Master, you could be a healer, you could be any of these different types, but regardless, eventually you could get Shikai or Bankai, or same thing with the wrong cards. They can eventually get Resurrection. The Quincy's eventually get Holy Form. And Black Clover is a little different because, you know, Mana Zone is like something that's not as normal. I guess if you kind of look at it like Mana Skin, eventually you'll get Mana Skin if you just continue the power level, steps. It's something it's taking up a lot of time, and I mean that in a good way. Like, when I say that, I don't mean like, your question is making me talk a lot. I mean, it's a good example of just like a good story implementation for Mishima of his power systems, because they're both such cool abilities. And it's like, again, it's like with now, I'm gonna compare it to, again, like Bankai, because it's like in Bleach, and I compare this also in Jujutsu Kaisen. It's like in Bleach, a new Soul Reaper essentially shows up. The ideas behind them, it's like there's three kind of questions that goes into it beforehand of their level. Are they a throwaway character? Are they at least kind of be around Shikai level or Bankai level? Because if they're like somebody who should have a Bankai, you're like, oh man, I can't wait to see their Shikai and their Bankai. And then if it's, they should have at least Shikai, I can wait their Shikai. And if it's like fodder level, it's like, okay, well, maybe we'll see what this character can do. But you have somebody like, again, Bankai level, it's like, man, you know they're going to have a Bankai, but you don't know what it is. And that's the mystery. And then it's like Jujutsu Kaisen, if they're power enough to have a domain expansion, it's like the whole idea of it, it's like, cool, you will have this. It's Fairy Tail, it's like, if you're a Slayer, well, God Slayers is like the... I'll just say Dragon Slayers and then skip the unfortunateness of God Slayers statement. But if you're a Dragon Slayer, especially now, it's like, oh, eventually you could get a Dragon, Dragon Force, and then have a Dragon form. What is their Dragon form going to look like? And, what is their Dragon Slayer perk going to be? What is their specific branch of Dragon Slayer's individual ability going to have? And then with Eden Zero, it's like they have an Ether Gear. Eventually they can achieve Overdrive. So everybody that ever shows up in the main cast that has Ether Gear eventually is going to get Overdrive, which is cool because it applies to all these different characters. And then anybody later, before we even know aspects of like who they are, what they're going to do in the story, like Nero, we know Nero is going to have Overdrive. What is it? But we know nothing about Nero, but we know something about him for sure, and that's he's going to have Overdrive, which is already like a really big hype thing to think about for him. It's just really cool, and I like that about the question, and I like that about what Mishima has done, because it's not something that Black Clover, or I guess One Piece is like Awakening. Maybe Black Clover will have that. I guess Black Clover is just maybe closer to like True Magic or Ultimate Magic, maybe. It's just one of those things that like can apply to every character regardless of whatever their base power is. Like if again, like there you go, Ultimate Magic. It'd be like if everybody eventually will obtain their ace move, and it's like everybody can achieve this level, or everybody has this power spell, like mega spell, existed, but will they ever achieve the level to use it, kind of thing. I guess that could be Black Clover's, but like there's still a potential for a full-on version of like these power-up forms. Again, it's hard to say. Maybe Devil Unions, but I guess that's different because they have to go through the binding ritual. Again, I wouldn't say Black Clover has it yet. I think they're getting there, because like it's hard to say. Like, True Magic is just a real version of that element, and then you have like runes and stuff, which is more close to like Mana Zone. I mean, either way though, I mean Black Clover could get it at some point, but it is a really cool thing. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going. That was just something I really want to talk about because it was a really cool thing. Dante's Gravity Singularity. I think Shiki should get wormholes. I think Shiki having portals, kind of like Finral, would be better than a black hole, because it would work better with like how his character is presented. Because Shiki has always been presented as somebody who has high mobility, because Shiki's has anti-gravity, so everything everywhere is surface for him to go on, and especially the way that Mishima's described it. With him kind of like he falls down in different directions, so he's essentially making his floor he can make any angle or anything his floor, because the idea, he's manipulating gravity so he can do it. But black holes would just be a cool hacks to fight with, whereas wormholes would be like a mega upgrade to his movement, because his movement and just the way he's like can just get around has always been the thing Mishima focused on showing. Even in Heroes, Natsu was shown as being the most in-your-face, hard-hitting person. Haru has the largest kind of variety of abilities that he can combine, kind of like how Lucy does it. And Shiki's is just how hard it is to hit Shiki, and how it is to kind of just get him, because he's able just to move so at the drop of a hat and in any direction. Now imagine if he could do portals. Now that's in my opinion, that's way better, because it upgrades him on a fundamental level instead of just a cool like broken power. And that's why I think Shiki get wormholes. I think that's a better idea. Plus, like, if you give him black holes, I feel like that's such an easy way to instant kill his opponents. Because, like, Natsu's is very powerful. Natsu's hacks, for the most part, like, he's got, like, how fast he can burn magic and, like, how potent his ability to burn magic and different abilities are. But, like, it would be like giving Natsu his ability to burn concepts all the time. Or not all the time, if he could just do that at any point. Because he can do it, but he has to achieve that level of emotional state. It's not something he could just, like, a fight starts out, he drops it on somebody. Because that would be too much. That's like end of series Natsu at his peak. Because after that, it's like, how can he get stronger? Like, the only other way is if he could do it in a larger amount. Like, if it's just like, oh, more of this concept erasing fire, and it doesn't hurt me anymore kind of thing. If you give Shiki a black hole, I feel like that's too endgame. Like, endgame, sure, but I want wormholes to be Shiki's big thing when he gets, like, a big upgrade. She's a chick with an ear to the fucking floor. Wait, what? I must have missed whatever it was. Oh, Irene. Yeah. I'm not an ear to the floor. She has eyes and ears everywhere. She's just smart. You think Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest will get an anime adaptation? I have to hope so. But I've said it. I'll just give one statement on it. Like I said, I would rather them not give it an anime if they're not going to do a monthly. Because weekly wouldn't make sense. There's very few weekly animes anymore. Very few big weekly animes anymore. And plus, 100 Years Quest being bi-weekly, they would catch it up to the anime, or the manga too fast. Seasonal. Like somewhere between 12 to 20 episodes. Somewhere between like 12 maybe to like 16 or 18 episodes per year or something. But way more focused budget in animation. I think it deserves it if they do it, and especially like from a story like structure standpoint, they would catch up way too fast if it was weekly. Let me see. I mean, even now, like if 100 Years Quest went weekly and then the anime was weekly, they would probably catch up to it even still. Like, because if it was weekly the whole time, and then we got the anime, we'd be like about twice as far, as we are now. So, 100 something chapters, like ahead, it's different than where we're at now, 70 chapters ahead. Dante Inferno vibes. What is this? Oh wait, I missed it. Let me see. Oh, what do you think Fairy Tail Under? Oh, I already saw that. Oh, when do I think it will get an anime? I think it'll be sometime after Eden Zero's anime. Because the thing right now, legitimate. So here's the thing right now that I would have I think would be a legitimate problem. In just in general, is if they announce an Eden Zero, or if they announce a 100 Years Quest anime now or before the Eden Zero anime at least starts. Because the thing about the Eden Zero fandom is made up of people who found Eden Zero and they like it, and then there's people who read Fairy Tail and then continue that read it and like it because they read Mishima's previous stuff and probably are gonna like his further stuff. And then you have people who have read all of Mishima's stuff and just like Mishima in general and his writing style and his stories. And I feel like if a 100 Years Quest anime announcement came out, I think it would overshadow the Eden Zero anime. because you would have way more of an uproar of, oh, we're getting a new Fairy Tail anime, and then you'd have people being like, man, I gotta catch up on 100 Years Quest, because you'd see like a trailer, you'd like the people who, because there's still people that don't like either don't know about 100 Years Quest. I've met people that still think Fairy Tail is over, and then there's people who know about it who haven't touched it, and then just probably people who don't really that have thought about it and like I'm gonna wait to the anime. There'd be a lot of people that would kind of start rushing back at a lot of stuff, as well as a lot of hype for the anime, as long as the animation is good. Or as long as the animation isn't bad, because that would be the only way that it doesn't, like, work. And I think it would overshadow the Eden Zero anime. I think the Eden Zero anime needs to come out and get a couple episodes in at least. And you know, good, strong beginning episodes, all just displaying how well this, you know, hey, come watch this anime. It's gonna be a good anime. Come on, guys. Come hang out. Come, you know, get them numbers up, watch the show, get the fandom, and then do like an announcement. 100 Years Quest anime. If they do that, that is a thing I never really thought about until now, but I legitimately think that. And I don't mean that it's an insult to Eden Zero. I love Eden Zero, but obviously I love Fairy Tail more. But I'm not saying this with a bias. I'm saying this from more of the, as somebody who looks at it more from the standpoint of the fandoms and the influence. Because obviously Fairy Tail has way more influence than... I like how I started. I was just going to give this as a quick statement. But I mean, like, this is... I realize this is what is a really important thing for the sake of the Eden Zero anime. But you have to look at it from the standpoint in reality. Because, like, Fairy Tail still has a way bigger fandom in Eden Zero. And it's way more well-known. So, Eden Zero... I think Eden Zero will... I think Eden Zero is going to get way bigger when the anime comes out. I think there's a lot of people that don't give it a chance or are sleeping on it. I think Eden Zero anime will make the fandom a lot bigger. And I think that, though, will be damaged if the 100 Years Quest anime is announced, because I think it will take people's attention away from Eden Zero and if you get it way too more focused on Fairy Tail. And then, again, think about it from like this. I'm a huge Fairy Tail fan. I'm probably one of the biggest Fairy Tail stans anybody here will ever, like, hear from. And I would love a 100 Years Quest anime announcement. I would love an anime. I'd be fine with them. From my fan standpoint, I would be like, sweet, if they just dropped one now. If no word just came out now. But I am looking at it from not a fan perspective. I'm looking at it from like what I think is best for the Eden Zero fandom perspective, because I don't want Fairy Tail to overshadow Eden Zero in that manner. I'm perfectly fine in the idea of waiting for the sake of Eden Zero, because and not from like the idea of like, not in the idea of kind of like, I'm trying to think of how to kind of say this. Not from like the idea of kind of just giving them, kind of like T-ball, we're just giving you an unfair advantage. I mean it from an idea of like, I want Eden Zero to flourish, and I don't want something that I think very much will damage them. I'm willing for the idea, even my stan bias levels aside of how much I love Fairy Tail, I'd be willing for that to happen because I think it's what's best for Eden Zero. And I think the standpoint of like wanting more Fairy Tail content, it's like, of course I want another anime, but I think at a fundamental level of how like Fairy Tail is and understanding from like the series, I think it would be against even like the concept of the story to want the anime to come out before Eden Zero, knowing it could potentially damage Eden Zero. You know what I mean? Because even you look at from the base idea, like the base idea of like in all the Mishima series, all have, you know, bonds, you know, amongst friends and stuff. And each manga, I feel like if you looked at the mangas and like gave like the mangas personalities, I feel like all the mangas would want the others to succeed. But I feel like a lot of shonen mangas would, you know, cheer on for their other ones, because the manga seem like that too. And most of the series like have that kind of very strong bond, regardless of how well they're displayed. Most of the series have those like very you know, close main casts where they, you know, they all very much get along and believe in each other and stuff. Let me see. Zareth on an Igneel are supposed to have all that we're supposed to all that educated Natsu, and he's illiterate until Urza taught him white. Natsu's not illiterate. I talked about Natsu's intelligence yesterday and today, actually. The thing about Natsu is Natsu isn't... So the way that I looked at it, it's like you have tiers of intelligence. You have like Goku and Luffy at the bottom. These guys are borderline mentally retarded. They are dumb. Sorry, but they're dumb. Regardless of how much you love them, they could be your favorite main characters. You know that intelligence-wise, they're not very smart. And then, like, you have, like, people, like, that in real life, you'd say, these guys are kind of smart. Are, like, Deku. Deku, regardless of people's opinion on Deku, Deku is shown he's pretty smart. He's smarter than the average person. And then you have, like, Senku and Kaiba, you know, geniuses that are guys that are, you'd be like, well, Senku is like the tier above Deku, and then Kaiba is like the tier above Senku. Where Senku is like real life one of the smartest people in the world, where Kaiba knowing stuff beyond our comprehension of current science would put him at like Marvel level geniuses, where you're like, holy shit, that doesn't make sense, but this guy he deals in fictional science. And then you have like, I would consider them that in real life, you would think you would probably know him as this guy can be kind of dumb, but sometimes he's kind of smart. Like Naruto and Natsu, I think, are like at the same level of intelligence, where again, it'd be like somebody that's maybe just a little bit below average intelligence. They're dumb, but occasionally they pull out like showing that they're not total idiots. And then below, like rock bottom is like Luffy and Goku. I mean, the only way you could get lower than Luffy and Goku is like if you dealt with a character who was pretty much just didn't talk, didn't do anything. It was just dead and almost like a mannequin. I don't think there's any main characters that are like that though. So, even Mashal, like, you know, Mashal's got personality. I guess Mashal will probably be at that bottom tier as well. Or not. I keep calling him Mashal. I have that problem. Mash. I keep calling it Mashal, but it's Mash. What is his name? Mash Bernadette, or I can't remember his last name, but Mash. I gotta remember that. I caught up with that recently. I like it. I think it's pretty good. Noel. Wait, what? Noel and who? I'm trying to scroll up. Wait, where is this? Noel and Bruce, all captains. Oh, the Bruce memes. I thought that was actually really surprising. I don't know anybody. So I don't know if anybody that wasn't at Josuke's stream the other night, but Jay actually didn't know about the Bruce stuff. That's just crazy to me. Like that is legitimately one of those moments. Like if you ever watched I'm trying to think of a scene. Oh, that scene. Just an example. Fairly Odd Parents. There's a part. Where is it in What is Timmy's genius? The black kid he's the whole thing is he's just like the smartest kid in school, and he's like. He's like super genius levels. He's like Senku levels of genius. He's not like I remember the crossover when it was Timmy wished to be in the lab of the smartest person in the world, and he went to his friend's house, and then it was the universe, and then he went to Jimmy Neutron's house because Jimmy's like Kaiba, where it's like absurd beyond current human comprehension science. But what is his name? Well, hang on. I'm going to Google it. This is bothering the hell out of me, actually. Fairly Odd Parents characters. It's like, his name, it's something J, because his other friend, Chester McBadbat. And I like how I went from anime to Fairly Odd Parents, but this is currently bugging the hell out of me. I can't remember this, like, cartoon character from, young Rax days. I'll just look characters, because I'm trying to remember. I know exactly what he looks like. I know his like his character. I know scenes of him. I know his voice too. Like that's one of the things that's bothering me a lot. Where is he? He's in the Incast. It shows Chester before him. It shows that stupid girl character they made. AJ, that's his name. Oh my god. But where was I going with this? It was about Bruce. Oh, it was about the memes. So it was like that episode where Timmy and how did I already forget? How did I forget this motherfucker? AJ. There was an episode where Timmy and so I remember the episode. It was like Timmy like made himself. He wished to make himself a genius like temporarily, and he ended up on this debate team with AJ. But it was like. You can't like one of the rules was they can't their magic can't let him win a competition because it was a match. The magic wore off and Timmy was dumb as dirt again. And what had happened was AJ didn't know the winning question, and he's the super genius, but he didn't know a super like in real life it'd be like a small note thing. It was like I think it was something to do with Crash Nebula, and Timmy knew it because Timmy loves the show. It was like just a Timmy question, and his level of cartoon knowledge was the saving grace that this super genius didn't know. And that's what it was like with Jay. Is he's this dude who he could tell you the wording of what characters said in specific chapters. Like Jay Cloud, to me, he's like the equivalent of what I am to Fairy Tail, where I just know the chapters, I can tell you the number, I can tell you the titles of the numbers and stuff. I know like all the different canons, the timelines, like weird character foreshadowings and stuff. Like the fact that Zeref was first mentioned in chapter 12, Zeref's a Spriggan 12. Mishima said that Zeref Spriggan had to be 12. The fact that it has to do with time, like all these weird things, like foreshadowing little like pieces Mishima did with his character being having Easter egg stuff and relevance to his character. Jay is like that with Black Clover that I am the Fairy Tail, and it was like a small, tiny little thing that happened, and that was that Noelle's wand originally had a spirit in it named Bruce, and he didn't notice that because it's originally from she gets the wand. Remember, she gets the wand from going to the black market with Vanessa, and it's revealed that the wand has a spirit in it named Bruce in a novel. In the novel, it reveals that Bruce I think can talk to her, and I don't know why it's named Bruce. That was such a weird thing. I think that was the thing that was most confusing because it's such a plain name. There's a single scene in the the Witch's Forest arc where Noelle says thanks, she has something say in her head. I think it's from Bruce, and then she says thanks to Bruce. And if you didn't know about Bruce before that scene, you gloss over it like it's nothing. I didn't notice it the first time it happened. I only knew that because I looked into one time I looked into the novels because I wanted to know if the novels were canon. And I was looking at him, and I was like, what the hell, Bruce? And then I remembered the scene, because the first time I read the scene, I was confused. I didn't know anything about the spirit aspect. I didn't know she was talking to the wand. I thought she was talking to somebody she knew. And I was like, oh, maybe that's a character that we'll see later. So I just thought, oh, this is a character. I didn't think at all, oh, this is somebody that we already should know about. Because from the standpoint of the Japanese fans, the novels they can just go buy the novels now and read them, and then no. I don't think that any of the novels are officially released in English, and the only way you'd know about it is if you went and read I've seen some novel translations. I've only read part of some Fairy Tail ones, just because they're so difficult, dudes. They're in formats just a Tumblr post, and it's one brick long mega paragraph that never you never know when it's going to end. It's an entire novel in paragraph format, and it's just so difficult to read. And that's the only way you'd know about Bruce. From the Japanese standpoint, it's normal, but if you don't research this character immediately, you wouldn't know about him or the novels. And it was just so funny that Jay didn't know. And I don't mean it from a mocking standpoint, haha, we got him. I mean it from the standpoint of that was the thing to trip him up. That was the thing to trip up this guy who every single week, every single chapter, he goes back and reads the previous 10 chapters. He's read Black Clover as many times as I've read Fairy Tail, and that's a sign of just the level of craziness to me. It's because that's the same thing. If I find something that's just super small that I forget about, and not the same thing as if you find foreshadowing that's or a small little note, in Eden Zero. We just saw in the previous chapter when Rebecca beat Brittany, when she kicked the vacuum away and used her her attack, a time accelerated kick. Her ether gear has the cat ears, so her ether gear was slightly more advanced in that scene, but it's not emphasized at all. It's there, it's just supposed to be there, and I think it's not supposed to be hey, look, I got a power upgrade. It's not in your face. You have to notice it. I'm sure a lot of people noticed it. Maybe I just glossed over it, but it's not one of those. It's a story, it has story importance. I think that was just kind of crazy. Like I remember Jay immediately went and looked into it because he was like how did I not know this? I've read this series so many times. I've researched all this stuff. But he's probably gonna end up reading all the novels now. I think that's the best part of it. I think Xenolith, maybe Shiki. That would actually be really cool. That would be really cool. I never thought about that. That's actually a really good theory. I might look more into like the possibility of that and make a video on that. That's a really good theory. What you should do. I don't know, Xylic, if you have a Twitter. If you wanna take first credit on that, because I don't want to forget your name. If you at me on Twitter, when I do the video on that, I'll give you first credit. That's a really good theory. That'd be a badass theory, because it would be. That was actually my funny thing. Just as a side thing, that was actually my original theory on Naruto. Is my idea in Naruto was because we've seen like the what is it? The techniques like mess with souls and stuff. I was like, what was it? When we saw that technique from the third Hokage of somebody ripping out, him and that one thing that can rip out somebody's soul or whatever. I can't remember what it's called. The big demon thing he used on Orochimaru. I was like, well, maybe because I was like, okay, well, he must be, all the Hokages obviously are, would be very powerful. I was like, what would what would make sense for the fourth Hokage? And when I was seeing the statue originally, I was like piecing the idea of, well, the fourth Hokage looks like, kind of like Naruto. What's the thing about that? And the whole parrots thing. Oh, thank you again, Jake Miller said, will we see Nash join his squad at the end of Black Clover? I'll get to that in a second. That's I have a theory for that. Hang on. I have a theory for that I would like to share. I've mentioned it before. I don't remember if I've done a video on it, but I will do a video on it one day. So I'm just waiting for one more piece of my puzzle to fall into place. But I will share it with you, because once the one thing happens is when I'll share the I'll do the video when the extra thing happens. But I'll just tell you what it is now. But is my original theory in Naruto was that somehow the fourth Hokage absorbed Kurama, like absorbed the Nine Tails, and in doing so, it was like this. It had to be a technique that like maybe reverted himself into a baby or something. That had to be like some crazy level technique with horrible consequences. Because what I saw at that point is you could have an absurd ability, but they have a dangerous repercussion, like 8 gates. That was another thing that was said in there. Because like I said, I look for things when they have consistency to think of the idea of them. Like again, 8 gates, something that like anyone can technically achieve, and it would make them godlike powerful in the process of it. But each time it has a drawback if your body's not at that level yet. It's pretty much actually it's always gonna have a physical drawback when you think about it, because your body will always go beyond its limits. And the 8th gate, you die. And we saw how busted anyone who's read it or watched Naruto knows how busted power, like just raw power, guy was when he went 8 gates, which I thought was actually I thought that was a bad idea, because it means in the idea of Naruto, because not in just a really dangerous move with all-out sacrifice as the repercussion. I mean the sheer gap it gave him. Because in reality, when you think about it, all you needed was somebody Guy's level, like Mike Guy's level, because Guy was strong. Guy was obviously stronger than the average Jonin like Kakashi, but he wasn't like godlike strong. But this meant anybody that could get to that level with the 8 gates could become godlike at least once, which meant that all they would need is one person like that. And then like say when Kurama, like when Madara sent Kurama over to oh god, I'm trying to remember, initially attacked them. I'm trying to remember Naruto lore really badly. Not Madara, sorry. God, who was the first one? Was it Obito? Was he the first one to control? Wasn't he the first one to control the Nine Tails? Was he the one that unleashed him? Yeah, because he's why Minato died, right? Oh god, I'm fumbling on my Naruto lore, I think. But it's not like it's not like that where it was some crazy crap. No. I'm not talking about my abilities thing. I lost my train of thought, and I somehow recovered on my old one. But say that, like, you know, Kurama attacks. If you had somebody guy's level, 8 gates, kicks the shit out of him, wins. Beats Kurama down bad. Because Kurama powerful, yes, but Kurama was not more powerful than Jubi absorbed Madara. Keep that in mind. Guy went from like high-level Jonin to dealing with a legendary class ninja. A legendary class Uchiha ninja merged with the Ten Tails. He jumped so many tiers. Obviously, it meant he was gonna die afterwards. But like, imagine somebody even close to Guy. It's like you would always have what should technically be an all-out win on an enemy, but you know, somebody dies, but it's like one person. Like, how many people died in the fight against, you know, when they're initially going against Kurama? Imagine if it only took us one person. That was, like, to me, the fumble of that idea. But that's what I'm saying was, I always thought that Minato, like the fourth Hokage, the idea of the fourth Hokage early in Naruto, I thought Naruto himself was the fourth Hokage, like pretty much reborn, and that's why they didn't really say, like, we didn't know a whole lot about Naruto's parents, why Naruto was alone. I thought it was like something that they had to keep secret. I thought that was a big thing. That was like, I thought I was so big brain on this when I was like 12 or whatever, however old I was when Naruto first started airing in America. I you know, I like many people in America started Naruto when the dub came out, and so like, I think I don't remember if I was like, no, I think I was when episode 1 first aired dubbed. I guess that is honestly, like, logically in my brain the furthest back I can remember. I'm pretty sure it was, because I think I watched it at my friend's house. Because we were super big into Naruto at the time. Like, outside of like a Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dragon Ball, I didn't watch many animes. Pretty much anything that wasn't on cable TV, like in America at the time, in dub, was like my knowledge of anime for the most part. When Naruto, around that time, you know, Naruto was first airing. And I thought I was so big brained. I thought I was a genius. This to me, in my head, this was like, this is the first series I've ever figured out in full, and I got it before anyone else. I was like so ready to like drop my theory on somebody, be like, haha, I called it, like years later. Obviously, it's not what happened, but it would make sense in Eden Zero. I would be really, really interested to see if Mishima does that. I hope Shikyu eventually manipulate people's gravity. I mean, he can already do that. He can I mean, he already does do that. He doesn't do it like the way that Shura's, I think, done it the same. Hasn't he? God, I gotta look into that. That's such a situational thing that I can't remember. I don't know. Maybe that's what Shura's thing will be. So he'll be specifically very... He will be very kind of focused on manipulating a person in general. Not like you see Gravity, a large attack, but kind of just like how Shiki looks when he's flying. Let me see. Shiki creates Ziggy. Yeah, that's the thing, is somebody had to create Ziggy, is the thing. That's the thing I talked about Quan with, because I thought Quan is, you know, Quan likes Eden Zero a lot. He recently started doing reviews on it, and we talk about it sometimes, and both of us, like, I brought up that thing with him the other day, and it's like, it's not like that what you'd think with Zareth. We know Zareth because it's like, oh, his, like, when you think about a character, you don't know like what happened in their backstory that made them evil. You know, like basic things like, oh, so they were born at some point. Like Zareth, regardless of Zareth's backstory, we knew like at some point he was a baby, had parents and stuff. And then it was like, what happened in his life that made him into the way he is. Whereas like Ziggy is a machine. Somebody had to create him to be like this specifically. And it's weird to think about because he's a machine, and like I said, it's not a regular villain in my opinion. I think that with what a lot of shonen people are used to, and again, it's not like it's has to be some groundbreaking plot twist. It's more in the concept of it, because it means that like Ziggy's origin has to have a very specific it has to have a very specific kind of structure to it. And I think that's the really interesting thing about Ziggy. Because the question is now, like, which Ziggy is the real Ziggy. Is like, is the evil Ziggy the real Ziggy, and the Ziggy that Shiki knew as a kid, like, is that some form of like corrupted Ziggy? Because the idea of Ziggy now is Ziggy's was programming, his programming had an origin. That's the thing, is the way you are as a person is essentially who you are has to do with like you imagine you at your base, like you at your youngest, and like imagine like just who you are in general, and then all your experiences tack on aspects of who you are in your life, decisions you make, how you think, what you do in life, pretty much. So it's really you as a person, and humans or creatures that are born and live, and it's like their kind of life experience and whatever created them to be like what they are. Whereas with Ziggy, there is a person that physically made him. Like there's not a lot of robot villains like this, because I feel like most of like robotic villains, like stuff like Transformers probably is one of the first things people would think about, but like they're organic machines, whereas Ziggy is kind of like Skynet. I think that's probably the best thing to really kind of look at Ziggy, because he's somebody that was made to do something, and regardless if the evil Ziggy is the problem, or the good Ziggy was actually the deviation from the original programming, there's an origin made by somebody to do a specific thing. And I think that's the really cool thing about Ziggy. And I really look forward to seeing what Mishima does with it, because it's I don't think that Ziggy could there's always the possibility that Ziggy it could become a more favorite villain to me than Zeref. I don't think that's possible. Just from the realm of possibilities, Zeref to me is a perfect villain for like everything that I like. And like the only thing that could have been done more with Zeref, in my opinion, is fight stuff. Just seeing more of him fighting and like more displays of his powers. But we already know like enough about him to what we know he can do. It just literally be the visual representation of what he can do. So Zeref to me, it's very hard, because like Zeref is my favorite manga villain, but the possibilities of Ziggy as a villain is crazy, because his origins is something we're just not used to. It's gonna be really cool. I really like what Mishima is doing with Ziggy, like just from a conceptual level, because I've shared before, like I really wish that I could do my own manga and stuff, and I have an idea. So like a lot of this stuff I look at like from a creator standpoint, and I mean that in the way of just like trying to understand a story. I don't mean that to try and sound like because the way I said that, I felt like it sounded almost really like trying to be big brain after my story where I thought I was big brain, but I was actually way off. I completely skipped over some form of very logical thing, like, oh, this is his dad. I skipped over like what somebody like probably most people thought, and tried to figure out some like 4D chess thing. But it's I don't know. I really look forward to this. This is gonna be really cool. I mean this from a standpoint of somebody just trying to look at trying to understand the story. So I really am thinking Ziggy has this crazy like layout, because he's like Darth Vader Skynet. I think that's the best honest way I can describe him. That's actually amazing. I think I've now figured out like the way that like Ziggy so far is really being in the series. That's actually badass. I mean, he's so far like he has different personalities, but that's kind of like if you look at like if you had that whole thing where it's like this character plus this character makes this character, and you can look at it and go, yeah, kinda, yeah. That's pretty badass though. I like that a lot. That is how now we should describe Ziggy. For anybody here, actually, we'll use this as an advertisement. Anybody here who hasn't read Eden Zero and has only thought about it, know that there's a character, a villain, who's essentially, if you fused Skynet from Terminator with Darth Vader. Imagine Skynet, robot Darth Vader, the villain, in space. Like going out to conquer places. Imagine that. There you go. Think how badass that is, and if you want to start a story that has that as a character. For real though, go read Eden Zero if you haven't yet. Draken versus Barrow. I read that. Draken destroys him. And just as a real quick, we didn't see Draken Joe in his full power in a power level sense, but we saw him at a level that we understand his abilities and at a general sense of where he can still fight. Because Belial's level was before Rave Master power level start, or he was outside of like the realm of like what we saw big people, like when we saw the two Gales fight, and he was before where we saw current level characters and events get crazy and like power levels and abilities and stuff. He was right before Endgame, so he was like, hey, we're getting rid of this guy because he's not strong enough to be in the Endgame stuff. But his power, for the most part, it's like rock manipulation and whatnot. Like he's kind of like evil Jura, and Draken Joe. It's really funny to think about because it sounds cool as a fight, but really, it's like you have this, like, imagine the same thing with Jura, except Jura might have a better chance because Jura is very strong too, and he can attack with just raw magic. He has a little bit more than Burial, but imagine the idea, like, Burial throws these giant rock, like hardened rock pillars, like, it's gonna smash into him, and then Draken Joe just touches it and converts rocks into like into like electricity, and then just electrocutes the shit out of him with his own attack, because he's an alchemist. His whole thing is alchemy. Like, the thing about Draken Joe that I think is going to be like the game changer for him is the level of influence he can have with his power, like his raw ether gear level, like his raw ether manipulation level, how smart he is, and how fast he is. Because his base power is alchemy. So as long as he's fast enough, he's strong enough to handle an attack, and he's smart enough to figure out something to use as an advantage, he can manipulate anything into anything else. Like, the only things he wouldn't be able to logically do anything is if you used like something that like is a conceptual level attack, or something that he would physically not be able to manipulate, like if something hit him from outside, like in another dimension, or when you get into like a higher tier of hacks, like when you get into crazy stuff, when you get into just the realms of being super busted to where you have to explain it, and like almost that you're doing a small essay level, that when like Satoru Gojo, like, he's a good example since he's like becoming very popular right now. A lot of people know him. When you get into a character like that, where like you're just like, wow, this guy is crazy, and you look at his powers, and you honestly have to go to his wiki page to read each like paragraph to understand what he does a lot of the time. That's essentially where Draken Joe could be. He's just super busted. Like, he's got full alchemy. So Draken Joe just defeats Burial at no matter what. Regardless of, like, we didn't see Prime Draken Joe, Weakened Draken Joe still dominates the living hell out of that dude. Not even close. Yeah, I was in the name. Man, I said like an hour ago. I am way behind. Literally crushing the sailor. Oh, yeah. Yeah, or cursing. Yeah, I do, unfortunately. Well, I mean, I do better. Eisen form plans and it sleeps. Yeah, Eisen is better. Think about when you compare Zeref to Eisen. Zeref is so much more busted, but Zeref also has, like, as we saw, Zeref's understanding of magic is way better than anything that Eisen ever did. But the thing about Eisen is Eisen was really powerful. Like, Eisen was at this tier with, like, in his base, obviously I'm counting pre-Hokyoku Eisen. He was at this level with people like Yamamoto and Unohana. Like, if you ever looked at their stats, because that was when I found out how busted Unohana was. Initially, like, I thought she was just like this really, because she had the scary old lady thing. That was how we saw her at the start. And then it turns out, she was actually really powerful, and probably a lot of people knew her past. A lot of people in the Soul Society that knew who she was knew actually, like, her past as being like this, like, one of the essentially the greatest serial killer in like the history of the Soul Society. If you knew how terrifying she actually was, if she pissed her off, that's one thing. And we didn't find that out till way later. And this, like, we saw the stats. Like, the stats were put on the wiki, like, way back when we still had fan translations. We didn't have officials simultaneous. We didn't have digitals online officially. It was just fan translations of people who got the Japanese volumes and then had to translate them, and upload them to some fan website. I saw the stats on the wiki when they came on, and Unohana, you saw the other captains, and then you saw Yamamoto, and it's like Yamamoto, big boy, big head captain Yamamoto, big captain commander, the strongest wielder of the strongest Zanpakuto of them all. Top tier, big boy, right? Pretty much the person right before you get to the gods of Bleach, essentially. You saw his stats, and then you saw Aizen's, and at the time, Aizen was who you would assume is the second most powerful character in the series, because I hadn't gotten to the manga at the time. At the time when the anime I think was getting into the Arrancar arc. I can't remember exactly where the anime was, but you saw Aizen's stats, and then you saw Unohana stats, and I was like, what, how is she above every other captain, and with Aizen and Yamamoto? And it was just like, holy shit. But she is super powerful when you her story. Aizen is that tier of power, but Aizen's thing is he's very smart and he's very tactful. He's one of these big genius characters like Mayuri and Kisuke. So his level of just his Zanpakuto hacks, his level of Ryatsu and his Reishi just total level and Kido expertise combined with his intelligence. His whole thing is he was just he's so prepared for everything. He was just 4D chessing every opponent that he had. His combo of these things he excelled in was why he's so dangerous. Whereas Zeref though is just busted on a power standpoint and on a fundamental on a power moveset standpoint and a fundamental grasp of his power in general. Because Zeref was a genius in magic. Zeref was able to figure out magic better than anybody we've ever had in Fairy Tail at all. If you compared, the comparison to that is in Fairy Tail is Mavis to Zeref. But obviously, if you compared Mavis's intelligence to Aizen, it seems Aizen is smarter than Mavis. I'm not even gonna lie about that. Mavis is very smart. We've seen Mavis. Mavis, though, I think that she can form plans close to Aizen's level, I think. But the thing is, I think that she just isn't as fast as Aizen. Aizen is I planned this days in advance, whereas Mavis is fast in the moment kind of thing. She's well, they both have to research their opponents. It's not like Aizen automatically knows. But yeah, they're around the same kind of idea. Aizen's is just way more prepared. He's way more, I'm gonna be ahead early. No, he's an early bird dude. But you have Aizen fight Aizen and Zeref in a fight. Zeref demolishes him. Zeref stops time, rips his soul out, puts a flesh-eating virus directly in his brain. Just completely soul destroys him. Zeref is broken on so many levels. Whereas Aizen, with prep could try and figure out a way to deal with Zeref. I doubt he could do anything, but Zeref is just he's way more again at a power level standpoint, whereas Aizen is at an IQ standpoint. Thank you again for the $2 super chat, Jake Miller, Theresa and Fuego Marilyn. Oh no, I missed it. Hang on. I'll get to it. Where's my? I have it on. Luckily, I have it on two screens. Mentor equals Marileona and Nash. That would be really cool. But let me get to that. I'll get to that right now, actually, because you asked me a super chat earlier about that. What to do with Nash? What I want Nash. I'm hoping Nash gets into a squad. The Crimson Lions is a good idea. I was thinking of Black Bulls, but Crimson Lions would be from a fire standpoint, whereas I think the Black Bulls would be from a standpoint if he was going to be in the story more. I guess that's honestly two pretty good perspectives from what the idea is. Do I want him to be in the story, and then from Nash's perspective of do I want to be on Asta's team or do I want to be on the team of all the best fire users because he's a fire user. So the idea is I think after this arc, after all the Spade is all good and done, I think there's going to be a time skip. I think this arc's going to be longer than a lot of people think it's going to be. Because I think what the thing is, when you look at this whole thing, I think this is its own piece. Because Tabata has done arcs closer to... He's done arcs so far more like Mishima. Like, in all honesty. You look at the Elf Resurrection arc, it's equivalent to Sirius Island for Fairy Tail from a story standpoint. Because how was Fairy Tail set up from the point of beginning through Sirius Island? Arc, and then, time skip. And but when you look at it, that structure, what happened in these? You gotta look at the context. Each arc had content that had to do with the overarching story of Fairy Tail. It had to do with, even though they were their own plot, they had content in them that related to the total plot when big overall story stuff was going on. And when you saw Sirius Island, you had all this stuff about the guild and the pasts of all these different characters we've learned about, and stuff that we're gonna find out in the future, and, like everything with Grimoire Heart and the stuff with Zareth. It was like this culmination of all this stuff we had found out, all coming together into like this crazy big main story event changing thing. And I always thought that was amazingly well done. And that was this way that Tabata did the Elf Resurrection arc, is each arc was its own confined story that had to do with the overarching story ending in a time skip. Because that's the thing that Mishima does as well, is after each piece of the story concludes, he has a time skip. Everything between start to Sirius Island happened, and then there was the 7-year time skip. Everything happened between Grand Magic Games and Tartarus, and there was a year time skip. You had everything from right after the time skip through Alvarez, including obviously stuff like the point between part 2. That's what I pretty much refer to as whenever there's a time skip as part of one of Fairy Tail. Beginning of Sirius Island, part 1. Right, part 2 ends with Tartaros. Part 3 ends with Alvarez, and we're in part 4 right now in 100 Years Quest. And then you consider like part 2, and then you'd consider obviously the canon anime arcs and the movie, and then in part 3 you'd consider stuff like Dragon Cry, because Dragon Cry is canon, and then obviously Fairy Tail Zero and stuff. But it's oh crap, I don't want to lose my train of thought. What was I saying? For Black Clover, the thing is Tabata did that with the series so far, and he's, so from what I'm seeing, structuring this to be part 2 of Black Clover. And we've already saw what is essentially Act 1 of the total overarching piece. Like, really, when you look at it, each part in part 1 of Fairy Tail was like part 1, and then an arc, and then part 2, kind of like if you watched a movie and you went to chapters, and like each of that would be episodes, and then then the sequel, and then you'd have like this kind of, it's kind of like all structured in by itself, kind of like its own tier, and then you go into part 2, kind of like how animes do with seasons instead. But the way that Tabata did that in the Elf Resurrection arc, I think he's doing that here with the whole like tree stuff. And I think each part is going to be, its own mini arc, and then it's all going to lead into one big climactic arc, probably the same length as the Elf Resurrection arc. And I think that's how Tabata plans to outdo the Elf Resurrection arc and have the big events that change the point of the story that would go into another time skip and go into a part 3. And I think after that point is when we'll have stuff like Nash be important and go and join a squad. I do like the idea of if he went and trained under Marileona somehow, because that has an option from him as a character of would he go with Ostad's crew. There's also actually the fact that would he want to go with Yuno's crew? Would he want to go with whoever they're like Yuno is with at, depending on what happens this arc, whether he stays in the Golden Dawn. Because I a lot of people think the question is would William live, or we die? Regardless, would Yuno after another time skip should be captain level 100%. So I would assume he would either start his own brigade, or he would end up becoming the captain of the Golden Dawn. So Nash would, like, in his brain would probably be those two or the Crimson Lions from the standpoint of wanting to become a better fire user. That is a really good point, actually, for his character. That is like a real potential thing for him if Tabata wants to kind of give him his own point in the story. I think that's would be a really good kind of like anime episode, or if he wants to do an extra chapter. But at that point, because that's what I wanted to share, because I don't know if, you know, there's the question again, you know, will Yami die or will he live? But that, either way, as like a question, if there was another time skip, it depends on how long it is. I think another time skip would have to be a couple of years after this big of a war, if like by the end of it they're going to fight like Lucifero and stuff. However it goes down, however the big climax of this whole, you know, devil tree and everything going on, by the time it goes down, how long of a time skip it's going to be. I feel like at that point it has to be at least a year or two, because that's going to be a big world kind of, you know, what was it, world ending event. You know, they're pretty much going to stop the extinction of humanity. Because honestly, Zagreus getting out would have been bad, but it wouldn't have been world ending bad, because as we've seen with, you already had other people that could fight him. Like he couldn't, like the Spade Kingdom, like the Dark Triad together beat Zagreus easy. Like he has to go and avoid them, and we don't know about outside continents, so we do that power level, everything, everybody's power level outside of what we know right now is a mystery, so we don't know. So, but Lucifero, from what we've seen, Lucifero is a world-ending threat. So if they stop him, there has to be like enough of a calming point of time before other crazy, like before bigger than that shenanigans happen. I feel like there has to be a good enough time skip for characters to get a lot more powerful. And like I said with Yuno, it'd be like, you know, there's the path. Yami dies. Does Asta take, you know, the title Black Bolt captain in, you know, going forward? Or does he have, you know, make his own squad? And then there's the idea of, if Yami lives, does Asta stay with the Black Bulls? Which would be weird if, like, after a long enough time skip where Asta should be really powerful after that point. Or does he start his own squad? And I like the idea of him starting his own squad, and I'm going to say exactly why. And I'm waiting for one more thing to happen before I reveal that squad. And I need one more 5-leaf Black Clover Grimoire character to happen. And why that is because I think Asta, logically, and I'm thinking about this from a story standpoint, I think this would be cool. It'd be a little, granted, it'd be a little bit cheesy, but in a cool way. In a very cool way. If Asta formed a team, like a squad of just Black Clover Grimoire users, and his guild was, his brigade was called the Black Clovers. I think that would be really cool, because think about this. When we first saw a Black Clover Grimoire like happen, when we saw Patrice Grimoire become a Black Clover Grimoire, the story initially, like the title of the series being Black Clover, it was like, because Asta has a Black Clover Grimoire. And as far as we knew, Asta was the only one. As far as we knew, Asta was had the only Black Clover Grimoire. But we saw the process of how it happened, and we saw that means that there could be more out there. And that took away, like, Asta being a Black Clover Grimoire, being an individuality thing, which means he should be one of many. And I think it'd just be really cool to give him, a squad, call it the Black Clovers, so it would go from Asta, as an individual, to Asta and the team, and it being from more of a group standpoint. And I think it'd be really cool, because it also would have to do with, him becoming a captain, having his own squad, having his own, also some circling back to having his own individuality, because it's him and his own squad, as well as it would reflect on the whole idea of Black Clover, for the most part, is a very team-based, manga. Like, even though Asta and Yuno are the main characters, they participate in, for a majority of the series in team fights. Like, there's obviously times I think they should get way more. I think there should be, I think Asta should really get some like a good, like hard, like kind of like heavy focused fight like what we had with Dante, but one-on-one at somebody at his level. I do think we really need that just for Asta, but I really like it's the majority of the series is obviously more team fight based, and I'm fine with that. I like that about Black Clover. It really like shows a lot of characters working together, and you know, it shows how well they can work together and how well they understand each other. And it's really cool, you know, seeing characters fight all the time as units, because you get to see, you know, how these characters operate. Everyone is getting to see the characters they like do stuff and be relevant and get to do, like be you know, useful to whatever cause they're, you know, fighting against. And that's one of the good things about you know, the structure of most of the fights in Black Clover. But yeah, I still think that there needs to be some singular fights, but at the same time, it would be just a really cool name and like story combo. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people share like the idea of it, but I mean, I like I said, it'd be almost kind of cheesy, but I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be really cool to kind of like. Plus, it would for Asta. Think about it. Think about this. As my last thing towards this. Think about this. For Asta, it would be a way for people to make a positive thing about grimoires that went into depravity. You had people that pretty much broke as people, that reached this bottom of their lives, and then came back. It would make that like something that they could like have and have some aspect of them to be proud of. I think that'd be really cool for like Asta to do as a character. And I think that'd be something that Asta would do just from Asta's personality. I don't know. That'd be kind of Supermanish though. I like that. It'd be kind of just like this from the like root core of goodness thing that Asta has to him. Let me continue. Jalal versus Dante. Jalal would whoop the shit out of Dante. Jalal would put him down. Like, Jalal could honestly just bind snake him. He can reflect his spells back at him. He could drop multiple hacks on him, drop Sem on him. The thing about Dante, what I have to keep in mind, is Dante can heal, but that's not going to matter if Jalal, every single attack Jalal can do one-shots him. Because Jalal is high Spriggan level. Jalal should be as powerful as Laxus right now as well, like even higher than what we saw, if not more, because I do think Jalal is more powerful than Laxus. It's been very consistent. I still gotta do that video at some point, and go over it, because legitimately, like, he is crazy. And Jalal also he's way smarter. He's got way more magics as well. Dante has 2 magics. Jalal has like 15. And Jalal is way smarter. He's way faster too. And he's way like he's got way higher feats. That's one of the big things. Like Dante could be Spriggan level based on hacks, but Jalal is on hacks and on power. And no, I mean he's around there based on hacks. Actually, no. He's no. Now I think about it, I forgot speed wise. He's closer to Mard Gear. Like, I think he'd be like right under Mard Gear if he was in Fairy Tail, somewhere around that. Maybe actually somewhere between Mard Gear and the Celestial Spirit King. Actually, that's probably a lot better. That's probably a lot closer for his tiering, now that I think about it. Because higher, if he was way faster, then he would have some of the hacks just because his singularity. But Mard Gear could put it. Like, speed-wise, he's lower than Mard Gear, and Mard Gear has the hacks to put him down, because Memento Mori would just completely erase him. But Jalal is high Spriggan level, so Jalal should destroy him. And again, I can't wait for Jalal. I want my Dragon Slayer Jalal theory to come true. I just need a scene. I can't wait. I need there to be like Celine. The pieces need to fall into place. I need Celine to figure out who Urza is. I need Celine to figure out who Urza is, because she's a smart, high-level dragon. Keep that in mind. She's a high-level dragon. To the point, she's not a upper dragon. She's not a king dragon. She's a god dragon. She's a dragon god. She's a dragon moon god. She is absurdly powerful from what we've seen. Dragon who conquered an entire dimension, and like just by like, she went to an alternate dimension to escape back to Logia, and a realm of higher level magic conquered it, uh, and it's just busted as fuck. But oh god, where was I going with this? Oh, but yeah, I need Celine just to pull Jalal into Elentir, because if she finds out who Urza is, she should know about Irene, and Irene obviously making dragon slayers is why Acnologia exists, is the thing. That is a big thing about Irene. Eventually, Irene is on the back burner, because I was thinking about this the other day of really, like, I wanted to plan videos out, and at some point I thought about doing an Irene one, but I don't know when I want to do an Irene one, because I want to do it more structured, but obviously she's way later series, and she's a later waypoint later in the series, and she's this interesting story of this queen that fell, that fell every single step of the way in her life when she tried to fight for humanity against dragons. It's such a weird thing. She's like this ultimate sacrifice for humanity as a queen, and I thought that was so weird to think about, like at the full scale of her character. But Irene, Jalal honestly should be somewhere close. I think he would be much closer towards somewhere like August and Irene later. But anyway, Irene is why Acnologia exists. Because take Irene out of the picture, and dragon slaying magic never exists. Acnologia never happens. The doctor who took on the hate name dragon Acnologia turned genocidal dragon who essentially created humanity, in a reality sense. When you really think about it, Acnologia created the world. Zareth influenced a lot of humanity at a societal standpoint of how they developed and ideologies and religion and events, because Zareth connects to so much of the story, which is crazy. I gotta do a video on that at some point. But Acnologia affected humanity at a survival level, because the reason the dragons went to war, because there were dragons that wanted to live with humans because they didn't like eating things that were as intelligent as them. When you really think about it, they saw, it's kind of like how Natsu is with Happy, because Exceeds are, they look like cats, but they have intelligence. They're intelligent creatures. They're not like, real world cats. They have the intelligent we have, just in a different body. It's like talking about an alien. And that's how humans were to dragons. And they didn't want to eat them. It's the same thing if you wouldn't want to eat an Exceed because why would you? Most people don't eat cats. I'm thinking about from the idea of an animal. But you wouldn't want to eat an animal that's as intelligent as you are. That'd be weird. And dragons and humans went to war. And that's how Irene, to help fight for humanity on the side of the dragons that were for humanity, invented dragon slaying magic. And then that unfortunately went south. And then for the original Acnologia, who went to go check out dragon slaying magic and said, fuck humans, came back, destroyed their village. And Acnologia, the character we know, became, the doctor who said, fuck this, became destroyer, apocalypse, genocide, world-ending reality dragon Acnologia, who is, again, I keep talking about, these character videos I've planned. They're so, I can't wait to, finish my structure, because I'm so close. I figured out how to do, the audio recording I want to do, and I think I figured out the video structure. I just got to figure out how I want to do the layout. And then I'm going to start doing these character videos, because there's so many, really cool ways that I think, Mishima really represented characters in their concept and in their story that makes them so interesting that I think a lot of people overlook from the standpoint of how he depicts them in the story. But, yeah, you take Irene out of the picture, and no Acnologia. Dragons never go away. Even the dragons... No, because you take away Irene, and humans never get dragon slaying magic. The dragons... They needed dragon slaying magic because they were losing. There were way more dragons that were anti-human than that were for human. And they created dragon slaying magic to turn the tides of the battle. And you take Irene out of the picture, that never happens. So the dragons for humans lose, and it goes back to dragons eating humans all the time. So not only that is it the downfall for dragons. Dragons almost go extinct because of Irene, essentially. Irene pretty much almost loses humanity, because of because of her decision to fight back against dragons, and that's ended up creating it negatively creating the thing that saves humans. Instead of, hey, I'm gonna beat all the bad dragons, is I'm killing all dragons ever and then fuck humans later on the line kind of guy. But Irene should be somebody Celine knows, and Celine should probably hate Irene. I feel like she should hate Irene so much. I feel like she's this one person when you really think about it, because Irene, at the core of it, is a god tier dragon. So she is somebody who has, when you think about this, dragons in their brains, they were the alpha creature of the planet. They were the most intelligent, and well, no, not the most intelligent. They were the most powerful of the intelligent species on in the world, and they towered over everything else. There was no species came into comparison to them. And then you have upper dragons. So you have a species that had this level of, again, alpha. They are the best. Nothing is below them. Everything is insignificant in comparison. In the concept of them as a species. And then you have to think of the dragons that are above them. They're better than all of the people that already think they're the best. And then you have just keep going up dragons, and then you have Irene's, and then not Irene, sorry. Then you have Igneals and whatnot, and then obviously, that's king level. You have characters who are the kings and queens. Imagine our world kings and queens, who are in charge of an entire country essentially, and not essentially. Well, for the most part, kingdoms and depends, but you know what I mean. Kings and queens. Class above classes. And then you have gods. You have Celine, who has achieved the peak of the peak species. She is godlike in power of a alpha race of a whole planet. And Irene is this. I really am hoping that it's shown that she was also somebody who a dragon who was anti-human, because she's not only really smart, but she's very powerful. And I'm hoping that she's somebody who saw humans as food, as just nothing. Because so far she's messing with the cats like they're toys, like they're playthings. And I'm really hoping the way that she does it, as she views humans as just things for her to torture and kill. Kind of like the way that they look at food. It's just that they see humans as inferior. Because in Celine's point of view, that should mean she should hate Irene passionately, because Irene, even if Earth is her original planet, she didn't know about. I doubt she knew about Elentir originally. Maybe when everything first started. That's how I'm hoping her story starts with, is that she maybe found Elentir while trying to figure out how to get away from Acnologia. She had to research ways to escape. Because she probably has all this knowledge at her disposal. Maybe something kind of like Lola Pachica and Black Clover has. Maybe she has something like that, whether it's a place or an ability. Maybe she has some way to achieve knowledge, like that, in some form of way. And she found out she had to figure out how to get out of there, desperately, to get away from Acnologia. I'm hoping she had to figure out how to do it. Not like she knew about it already. Because otherwise it's why don't you just go there and stay there all the time? But I'm hoping she figures out how to do it to escape Acnologia. Because in her perspective, she is one of the smartest and most powerful of an entire race. And then Irene is this arrogant queen, the arrogant human, somebody you think is below you. Like, imagine something like a concept, like the concept of as a dragon. You are this alpha creature at the peak, and then there's a human, something you see is insignificant at the base root of your entire species. So far of a gap in your mind of a thing, like just of existence in like their whole just class system in the way that Celine would think. Irene creates this human, indirectly creates, Acnologia, the one that we know, indirectly creates him through the invention of dragon slaying magic, that it almost ends her entire race, and she has to flee to another dimension to not die. And it's not just that she has to flee, she has to go there and stay there. Because there's no way. Here's the thing. Like, Acnologia, them being equal to Acnologia is fine. As we saw with Acnologia, it's that Acnologia's limits are almost infinite. Its Acnologia still has that base weakness of, the motion sickness and how it affects, Dragon Slayers. First gen, 1, 2, and 3, and I still want to know about 4 and 5. Probably 4. 5 we know isn't affected by motion sickness, and I want to know why. I'm hoping it's explained at some point within, this arc. It's one of those weird small things that I want to know about so bad from somebody who, this is like an interesting point in the story for somebody who just kind of like reads like the series from like, just enjoying the story as it's going. But for me, like somebody who just looks at it from the structure of the story again, I want to know how this works, because this is like the big weakness of Dragon Slayers we've known about. It's like, how the hell did they not have to have that problem? And like, I have my theories, but it's like, how did this happen? But so Acnologia against any of the Dragon Slayers one-on-one, I think he would destroy them. But this means like at this point they would have to maybe all team up on him at their peak. But at that point, like, Acnologia, I still think has such a threshold that he would completely just eat all of their magics and win. Acnologia's thing is he just has no limits. But I feel like the Dragon Gods wouldn't know about the motion sickness thing and how to use that to exploit him. It's a really weird thing, because the dragons wouldn't know about these things, but oh my god, it's crazy to kind of like try to grasp your like head around something that we know as a reader that's super simple because we see it a million times through like Natsu. But the dragons, like these dragon gods, wouldn't, like, any of the dragons wouldn't know that at the start, and Acnologia just dominates them so fast that there's no resistance, there's no time for research. He just like non-stop finds a dragon, kills a dragon, doesn't age, keeps going, kills, just wipes them out to near extinction. So the only dragons left found out ways to hide somewhere in the world, like literally on just small corners in the world. Because I know before someone says Alderaan is fucking huge, I know, but the fairy tale world is fucking huge too. In Acnologia, it's not like Acnologia is like, oh, I sent somebody, and then he goes and find and locates them. Because sensing magic is something we can, we've seen, and I granted he should be able to sense magic as a magic dragon. Definitely, he should be able to know, like, oh, there's magic to its like in a location to a degree. But he finds things from far distances through smell. We know that through for a fact, because every time he finds something, he does it through smell. So, Acnologia, like, you can hide from him if you can hide your scent. There's a way you can hide your scent, you can hide Acnologia when you really think about it. Because think about, like, when Irene died, he came back because she became a dragon, so he smelled dragon. He knew where to go because he smelled a dragon. And think like Irene beforehand didn't smell like a dragon. He had like an idea. He said he had a feeling like that something was weird, but he didn't know what it was. And then he came back and he figured out who it was. He knew it was Irene, the one who invented dragons like magic. I'm really hoping we get a flashback at some point. I really wish Mishima would do like a series on like Acnologia, just like a volume on just some of his moments. I really want to get it's like an isolated volume so bad, because that's one thing I really want to see, because we knew Irene. He knew Irene. He knew that she was the creator of Dragon Slaying magic. I'm really hoping at some point we would get to see like the moment Acnologia goes and learns Dragon Slaying magic. Maybe he's met Irene, or he like the moment he learns of her. Even if he never meets her, like he meets some random guy and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is our queen who made the Dragon Slaying magic. Let me teach you how to do it." Even if it's that, and then Acnologia, like that would make Acnologia standing over a corpse so much cooler when you think about it from a standpoint of him when he's like, "This is the bitch I have to defeat to be like get to the top." Probably because he was pissed off at that point. He broke. He was just all hate, kill, murder moment, absolute destruction. He flipped. He went from like helping people to helping Dr. Man to like, I need to get to top, to murder an entire race. He just went all genocide. It's really crazy when you think about it. It's, hey, I want to help everybody, Dr. Man, that became genocidal dragon wizard. I can't wait to do like my Acnologia video. That's one of my favorite ones because I really like Acnologia. I think that his fight wasn't as good as it could have been, his final fight, because it was so short. I wish it was so much bigger. I know everyone does. I was so happy the anime had that really, really well animated scene. Everyone's going crazy trying to fight Acnologia. And that scene was so cool too. I love when he flips. I think it was when he flips over Gajil and attacks. Was it Sting and Rogue? I'm trying to remember exactly the scene, but he does that like Gajil goes to hit him, and and Acnologia just kind of does that like side flip and like just barely edges over Gajil's back on purpose and like shoves him and then goes after somebody else. That scene was made him look so badass. I loved how he like he was playing with them because that's how he really saw it. It was a shame. I really wish we got to see him go all out and there's like a big battle because we got to see him. We got to see the fact he was more powerful than playing, but we never got to see Acnologia just like do an all-out attack and see like the full devastation. Because Eternal Flare was literally just him pushing out like the excess magic that he had. He just had a little bit too much and he just threw some of it out. And then he was just this absurdly fucking powerful dragon who ate a concept of reality and absorbed an entire like a scar in the universe. He's so fucking busted when you think about it. And there's the words he said, and I will remember these words because this is another Rax lore story. I got in an argument with one of my friends, and he was trying to like say, I said something about how like much of a threat Acnologia was, and he's like, "No, he's not. You're exaggerating him." And I said, Acnologia, in his words, after explaining he ate a concept, his words were he was going to surpass the limits of time and space and destroy the world. Acnologia was going to exist beyond concepts. He was going to rise past concepts of reality. He had already eaten a concept of reality, and he was going to exist on another level, again, that we can't even probably perceive. And he was, like, absurd. He's an absurdly broken character. It's really crazy, and that's one of the things I really like about Dragon Slaying magic, that I'm mad at. I'm fine with 5th gen having this, like, perk, but I'm mad I don't know, because it's like the ultimate kryptonite of this magic, and I like that. I like that it's, like, no matter how powerful, you can be absurdly powerful as a Dragon Slayer, but you have this kryptonite. Again, think about Superman. Superman is absurdly powerful, but me, if I'm a dude, I'm like average, probably. I'm like 5'11". I'm probably like average body type. Like not like fit. I'm not fat, but I'm okay. I'm like just like generic. And me with a stick of kryptonite, I can beat Superman. And that's essentially kind of what Dragon Slayers are. And I always liked that because it was just such a cool. It was such a cool like trade out for this absurdly powerful magic. Because that's the thing about Dragon Slaying magic, is the potential of them is absurd. When you really think about Dragon Slaying magic, and when you look at magic from the standpoint of the beginners of magic, think about you as a kid, you're about to learn magic and how powerful you can become. Think about how powerful most mages are in wizards in Fairy Tail are. Most wizards were like people like what was it, Tebow and weaklings. like people who were fodder even when Fairy Tail showed up. And Max, like even Max was able to beat that point of Natsu. Like Natsu was still like above average. He was essentially back at the start of the series. He was just above average level people. And like, oh god, where's my train of thought in this? I completely like fumbled where I was going. Crap. What was I saying? No. And I'm gonna open my stream real quick. No, I don't want to do that. Then I have to mute part of it. Crap. I was talking about Natsu. What was I saying about Natsu? Hang on, I'm gonna do that. I need to. 1 second. I'm gonna mute this stream part so I can hear me talk, but I'm gonna mute this the desktop repeat. Okay, hang on. How did I lose my train of thought that bad? One second. I'm gonna mute. No, I'm not gonna mute. Hang on. Oh, hang on. Where was it? Oh. Oh, okay. I remember. Okay, I remember now. Shit. I can't believe I forgot what I was saying. Like entirely the base root. Like I was just talking about I got down to like talking about like Natsu's power level and stuff and like where it existed. But like think about exactly where it was. And you think about like the potential that people have when they learn magic and they learn what they can do. And then think about like Acnologia at one point was not powerful. He was a doctor. His magic, he knew healing magic that could only like he couldn't do that much with. He wasn't like great. He was like Wendy was a better healer than he was. Like Wendy at the start was probably like Acnologia just at healing and just healing. And I mean, he was nothing but a healer. He was a good guy. He just wanted to do good things, but he wasn't that powerful at the beginning. And then think of him like, hey, I got Dragon Slug magic, and then his rise to the point that he was a threat to the like reality of the universe, that he was eating concepts and it like literally sucked into a hole in the universe, ate said nothingness and concept, and then broke through a hole in reality and then shattered reality in space like glass. Like Acnologia is ridiculous. And then you have this still again crippling weakness. And I've always liked that about Dragon Slaying magic, that it just has this fundamentally set thing that will can turn the can screw over their power. Again, like the way that Kryptonite works on just on Superman, on the concept of it's like you get to learn a magic that's absurdly strong, but this comes with this weakness. It's kind of like, I hate to compare it, but I'm going to compare it just because it's easy to understand. It's kind of like in One Piece where how devil fruits, you get an advantage of some kind, but you have this weakness, you can't swim, and most of the world is water. So it's just a dangerous thing to kind of like balance out is the whatever power you get, regardless of power level stuff. Just the trade-off kind of thing. And I always like that. And it's like just I'm trying to think of other characters, other weaknesses. Just general. I guess it would have to be like a weakness you gain. I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I guess ether gears. Like you get an ether gear, but you get tied up and you can't use it. But I mean, I guess physically you can still just rip whatever. I guess physically it would be the way that you would beat that though. If it's just ropes, physically just beat the ropes. I don't know. Either way, just having a weakness for something that comes with like a really good power. I've always liked the concept, just because it adds for. Is there a way to restrain people of this level, or is there ways that they can kind of like figure out how to beat them or hold them in place, or it adds the ideas of prisons for like people as well. Because if you don't have some way of like how do we confine characters, then the only way you could ever do anything is either let them go or kill them, and that's kind of boring too. But I know I'm a million years behind the chat, so let me get to this. Yeah, Jalal definitely beats Dante.
Does anyone else think Vonica will get killed and Megicula turn on the Triad once summoned? No, I don't think so.
I don't think so, because here's the thing. I thought that at one point. Here's the thing about Megicula. Betraying the Dark Triad means betraying Lucifero. And there's the level of balls for Megicula to have. I don't care if Megicula is a chick demon or dude demon, but like the whole thing. The level of balls that Megicula would have to do to betray Lucifero would be absurd. Because we don't know how strong Megicula is, or where Megicula is ranked amongst demons, but we know that Lucifero is the cream of the crop in terms of demons, of the devils. He's like, they're not. I'm hoping they aren't going to be comparable, because the Demon King of Seven Deadly Sins, and for somebody who had so many cool forms, except for I hate the weird bearded one where he's like an old man. That one is dumb. Not the old man, but like the one when he took over Zeldris's body. I love the giant Cthulhu monster one. That was my favorite. But the fact that like you have all these powerful demons, but he's above them all. He's above all the realm. He's above all of the other demons by a lot, and not counting Meliodas becoming as powerful as him. I'm not counting him at all in this because he's the main character, but the general idea of this entire race where he's the peak. Megicula doing that would be ridiculous. Like that would be crazy, because then that would mean his idea is either he's doing it for humanity, or he's like, haha, I'm gonna take humanity for myself. And it's like, it would be such a idea to do that would probably, it would make Megicula seem so dumb in all honesty, because it means that Megicula is going to piss off somebody who should be able to eradicate them if the chance comes up. And I know there's obviously, he'll be on the human realm, while as Lucifero would still be in the devil realm, but the fact that there's still the potential to exist for him to come through at some point ever, or figure out a way to even just do one attack and Megicula dies. Because the thing is, it's not like when for example, settlers came to America and it was like, hey, originally we're explorers, and then the explorers did all their stuff and then said, never mind, fuck you, we're making our own nation. It's not like that. Like, this is a species where it's dominated through power levels. So this guy is the giant monster man. Again, like the Demon King in the Seven Deadly Sins in terms of like power level, towering king and like kind of thing. Kind of like Aknologia being the Dragon King as the strongest dragon. So bad idea betraying this person. I don't think it's good though, because Megicula would just be like saying, essentially the idea would be, instead of Megicula being some form of whatever Megicula plans on being, I guess, it would just turning him into this greedy dude who wants to just take humanity in the world for himself, or it'd be weird if he wants to save humans too, though. I think that would be a really weird plot twist. I don't want that either. Or actually, no, I assume Megicula's a girl. Just from what we've seen so far. I'm just gonna assume it for now. It seems like it would be like, if she betrays them for humanity, that'd be weird. And if Megicula ends up betraying Lucifero to kill humanity, to end the world on her own, it would be like, yeah, but then you're just setting up essentially her to be, I want everything for myself, suicidal, kind of like Harley Quinn crazy, and I don't want that at all either. I like the idea that Megicula is just doing what's going on for Lucifero. My hopes is either this is what I'm gonna compare it to. I'm hoping that either Megicula or Xenon's Devil are gonna be like the equivalent of Ulquiorra, or like Ulquiorra in terms of concept. In terms of concept, like when you think about like when we saw Ulquiorra as a character as this giant, this emotionless despair demon, like crazy high level powerful enemy of like the big boss's army. That's what I want it to be. I want the higher level devils in like, not maybe military, like from a militaristic standpoint, but from a like nobility standpoint from the Demon King, because again, it's not like Game of Thrones style royalty. It's just a power level style of nobility that they do not betray Lucifero. I'm hoping that one of those two is like the Ulquiorra, or like kind of like the bad guy you have no way that they're gonna stop. That was the thing about Ulquiorra. I think that's the thing that's the best way to describe Ulquiorra, because Ulquiorra like was definitely like that in just a kind of like Pain. Pain was like that in Naruto too. Like it seemed like there's no way they're gonna beat this guy. Like Margear was close to that. I think also with Acnologia after he killed Igneal, it was like, how the hell are they gonna defeat this guy? Once they knew like stuff like that, like how powerful everyone would become, and like there were people potentially with the way to mess with Acnologia at level with Irene, because August knew they couldn't beat him. Irene is below August. I don't care what anyone says. Irene is below August. August is more powerful than Irene. Irene has dragon form, but August has this weird red form that I really wish was named. Really cool looking red skin, white hair. Like August is more powerful than Irene. Absolutely. And people at that level can mess with Acnologia and trick, like, and they can pretty much play with him a little bit. To it, Acnologia is like, okay, let's have a warm up, because like with the Dragon Slayers, he's like playing with them like they're kids. With like August and Irene level, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll warm up time. In an actual fight, it's more like Igneal, and then probably in like a bloodbath, it's like the Dragon Gods, and then Acnologia dominates them after that point. Because Mishima did say in an interview, the last interview Mishima did, the live stream one, I can't remember the date, but he said Acnologia was the strongest person in Fairy Tail. Acnologia is the strongest. I can't wait. I can't wait for Acnologia to somehow make a comeback. I want it so bad. I want Mishima to do this. I don't know why I said I can't wait. I can't wait for my my big tinfoil hat theory. But either that, or we get Ankh Saram, and then somebody asks Mishima whether or not Ankh Saram or Acnologia is more powerful. Because either way I win. Either way I win, because otherwise it keeps Acnologia as this hyper badass super dragon, and then otherwise I win in the concept one, and like it cements Ankh Saram as god of Fairy Tail, kind of the overarching character of that selective universe, and then Mashimir is like the overarching of Mishima's multiverse and stuff. It's just a really cool setup. But let me keep going down. No, Eden Zero, it's not the strongest. What? Eden Zero? What? Eden Zero's not the strongest. Like, Mishima had two characters that were messing with timelines and, like, realities in the universe. Like, no. Absolutely not. Like, the idea is, like, chronophages are really big, but they're like, they're like planet level in hacks, and then you have stuff like we've seen. The problems that we have right now, and also in Eden Zero, is we don't know how big these planets are, and that's one thing I really am hoping we get a data book, or we get we get somebody to actually just take the time to like figure out the scale of planets. I'm kind of lazy. I don't want to, and I don't know if there's enough. Also don't know if there's enough shots to do it, because obviously
the planets have varied in sizes. Anyone who's read Eden Zero has noticed that, like, not every planet's the same size. You know, we've seen really small ones, like the one that Amira was on, that was like a candy planet, like a candy vacation planet. It was like a King Kai planet. It was super tiny. So we don't know how big these planets are, but even in that, like, the biggest we've seen is potentially planetary, and that's powerful, but Zareth and Akanogia achieved, like, universal, like, crazy effects. So they're definitely the peak up there kind of thing. They're big boy stuff. Natsu's already light speed early by 100 chapters. Natsu logically, and this is where I would say Natsu logically was at light speed in the Grand Magic games, and this is why. And I know some people could try and figure something out and try and, like, make some weird plan. I think both feat wise, story narratively wise, and progression wise, Natsu was light speed. Natsu's able or somewhere around light speed to faster than light in speed. Think about this, all right? So in Fairy Tail, we know kind of like the progression. You know, you see parts early on dodging bullets consistently. You see, like, bullets are something that they can contend with consistently. Somewhere in the supersonic air, like, levels of speed. And I'm going to power level this a little bit, because, again, this makes sense from both me telling you the power level story-wise and, like, how consistent it is kind of thing. And then we see, like, people like Laxus, who, are able to, like, do, like, lightning speed level stuff, being above where we see, like, Natsu is and levels characters at the start. But we see characters like Urza are able to, like, mess with Laxus. So we see, like, a gap. Again, you think about just speeds. I'm not going to go into numbers, but think about it, like, when you think about the idea. You have, like, supersonic and hypersonic and stuff. You think of, like, bullets and missiles and stuff. And then you have lightning speed. Lightning speed, I don't need to go into numbers, but just think about the speed of how fast lightning is. Like, and then you have that being Laxus, Urza level people, and at that point in the story, early on, like, way back in, again, dodging bullets and stuff being a thing, with back when guns were a little bit more relevant in Fairy Tail, in areas like Tower of Heaven, and in the Rastion Sace arc. And then we see people like Urza and Laxus at the time kind of level people, kind of like in that Wizard Saint tier, like lower Wizard Saint tier kind of characters, like Urza and Laxus, Jalal and stuff, very fast characters that have, always been depicted as, kind of like in the upper level. They were like upper mid kind of like level characters at the time, because like at the time of Makarov was high up there at that point in the story. It was a good time, poor dude. But at that point, you have Natsu kind of like taste, like, see how fast it is to, like, mess with the more powerful Laxus, because Laxus got stronger when he left and came back way more powerful when fighting Hades, and you saw, like, Laxus, the kind of gap between people are way faster, way more powerful than the lightning kind of like level people that like Urza was, and the one, and then Hades being people kind of like Guildarts, because Guildarts was casually, like you see in the flashback, Guildarts level people casually faster than light. And Gray's flashback in Ice Channel. Let me read this super chat. I know it's not popped up yet. I'm gonna have it poked up so I don't forget about it, because last time I forgot about one, but luckily I remembered. I went back and looked. Waiting for the notification. At one point, it's gonna pop up. I think it's like a 30-second lag. I'm just gonna read it now. Oh, there it is. Oh, thanks for the $5, Jake Miller. Asta versus Lucifaro in the in the Underworld, post multiple year time skip wins easily, question mark. Oh, it's a question. It would be a Trunks versus Frieza moment to reset power scaling. Well, no. I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I want that. Like, at the very, like, actually, that depends. That depends. I will. There's a way that could work. If they don't get all of the gates opened, and then it's like, okay, maybe they're able to stop it at gates. Maybe like gate. How many levels was it again? I think it was 9. I can't remember, because it was one number originally, and then it got corrected later that it was like it messed up what Tabata was planning because they drew it wrong or something. So that was like a mess up in the art. And sometimes that happens, and unfortunately in that time it was like an actual important to the story thing. Luckily they fixed it. They probably fixed it in the volume. But if they stop it before, let's just say they stop it like, I don't know, 70% of the way in or something, there's a couple gates left, and then the arc ends, and it's like, okay, we stopped it. That's, everything's good, and there's a couple things that that are left, and then you get like more in the story, like things can progress in things like progress way more in like other like countries, and we get a couple arcs like somewhere else, like a couple parts, and then somebody starts opening up the gates, and then maybe then we get something like that where it's Asta, because Asta, I think Asta shouldn't be able to be that powerful until like he's maybe in his like days and years in his life where he's like Yami's age, or like maybe a little bit older, because Asta's powerful, but like he's progressing obviously really fast, and obviously shonen main character, how the story is and how everything's playing out. Regardless, like I think it's really well, but eventually him being that powerful, sure, but I think at a reasonable time. I don't want it to be like, oh, in this arc, like before the end of like everything with the Spade Kingdom. No, it has to be way later, like end of story. If it's like literally the end of the world, like the last gate opens, this is like chapter 755 of Black Clover, 10 chapters left, and it's like the final battle's about to happen. Like every other character's had their final fight, and it's just the gates opened, and the Demon King's like, I'm coming out tomorrow. I'm gonna get a good night's sleep and then destroy your world. Blah. Some godlike last pity kind of thing. Kind of like in Castlevania. I don't even watch the Castlevania anime. Wow. Dracula, how pissed he was, but I think it was, I don't remember if it was 1 year or 2 years, but I think it was 1 year. He's like, I'll give you 1 year, and then of just living, and then I'm gonna eradicate you all. It's just that I can kill any of you at any point, but I'm gonna be nice. One last nice thing, a gift from me before I kill you all, kind of thing. Then Asta goes and fights him. That's like the only other way that I think it could work, because otherwise it has to be like the Demon King can't be like the big and like world-ending creature. There has to be bigger things than him, and that could happen. But I mean, like, it hasn't been presented yet, and I'm hoping that either Tabata does it at some point during this arc, or builds off of something that was already established. Because I don't want it to be like the end of this arc, everybody wins, they defeated, like, not like Asta's defeated the Demon King, and then a chapter later they're like, there's something better. That would feel so dumb. It would have to expand. Like maybe like if when they explain the tree, the whole like concept of like the the world tree magic and how it connects to this other realm. And it's like, maybe it shows like on a map of the other realms, and like you describe the realms, and it's like, oh, this is how this works. And then you find out there's something beyond the demon underworld. That's how I think something like that I think would be perfect. But I don't want it to just be like Dragon Ball, where it's like, oh, okay, we beat the thing, and then something completely new out of nowhere we never heard of shows up as a problem. I don't want that at all. But anyway, yeah, I don't want something like Asta getting a time skip and then going and 1v1ing him. That'd be weird. Wait, let me go back to this. I gotta catch up. Seraph versus Kaguya. Seraph destroys her. Seraph stops time. That's the crazy thing about Seraph. Seraph's super powerful. He's way above people like August and Irene by miles. And he's broken. He's immortal to a point he can survive conceptual damage, conceptual destruction. from fire that was destroyed, this concept like of time itself, and like an infinite supply of magic. Zeref's curse, though, from God. That's why I know either way, Acnologia or Angstrom, me at the top confirmed. Either way that ends up, either way that ends up, it works out in my favor. But Angstrom, like, because it goes to his curse, because Zeref's curse doesn't scale to him. Zeref's curse scales to Angstrom because it's Angstrom's curse. He's absurdly broken. He could literally stop time and rip all of the chakra out of Kaguya's body. Like, he ripped out Fairy Heart. He ripped out an infinite supply of magic instantly on contact with Mavis. And he can stop time. Like, you forget that, like, he didn't use it against Natsu because Natsu is immune to time stop, because he created Natsu to counter his abilities. That's why Natsu is immune to soul manipulation, as we saw against Wraith. That's why we saw Natsu, fight even when time is stopped. When when Demaria stops time, and when he stops time, Zeref, or when Zeref stops time, Natsu would still be there. That's why, obviously, in Tartaros, when Zeref stopped time, he went and talked to Natsu, because he knew Natsu would just be standing like normal. That's why it's no point for him to use time stop in his fight with him with Alvarez. He just was fighting him like normal. That's why Zeref went to hand-to-hand combat with just general magic attacks. But Zeref is broken, and like Kaguya has some broken abilities and a lot of chakra, but she's limited in chakra, and her dangerous abilities are not even close to Zeref. Plus, honestly, from what we saw, she'd probably fall in love with Zeref. Like, legitimately, she is probably Spriggan level. To be perfectly honest, she's not very powerful. Like, we already know now that Kaguya is not that in the big leagues for Naruto, because we know now from what we saw, like from the description and like the explanation, how I don't know if it's I can't remember if it stated her species or if her species is her last name, her family, the Otsutsuki, but they exist in pairs. And what's the news? Ishin is Kaguya's pair, and what we saw with Momoshiki, we saw that Momoshiki was I can't remember the two of them separate, but one was stronger than the other, and then the stronger one absorbed the weaker one to achieve their true form. Kaguya was that for Ishin, but Ishin was the stronger one. So Kaguya was strong, but still the lesser one of her level. So when you get Momoshiki at his peak being stronger than Kaguya and stuff, and then Ishin and stuff, it makes sense. But Zeref is still the peak human. Peak human in magic and like just terms of like magic in general. Obviously, Acnologia still is at a base root human. That's why motion sickness works on him, because base root's still a human using magic. It's just a permanent magic, but it's still stemmed out of the thing. It's kind of weird. Literally, when you think about like motion sickness, just kind of how it's a base root of the concept of how it works in general. I'm really hoping the idea of, that's why I'm hoping that 5th gen is explained. I'm hoping 5th gen is explained to work differently in consuming dragons, and it makes their body more kind of transformed into natural dragons, because you're consuming a natural dragon instead of artificially turning into one. But one is artificial. I think that's just the only logical explanation. I just wish it would be stated. I don't know. I really hope Mishima has something like that. I feel like that's the perfect kind of way to have it set up. But yeah, Zeref demolishes Kaguya. It's not even close. Mother doesn't have any feats, but the thing is, she has a base level of power just by being that big. Like, literally, the fact she could literally crush countries by sitting on them. As we saw moons. We saw moon. She's a planet. She's like the size of a planet. She's bigger than that, because that's what's stated. She can literally sit on planets. We don't know how powerful she still has the fact she's big. She's a big lady. She can sit on a planet. Think about that. She can literally end worlds with that massive thickness. She's a giant space god, all right? She can do what she wants. She has a base power level. She said, fuck the fact that you have to wait probably like 400 chapters to see how powerful I am, or however long it'll be, but she's going to have a base root of just size difference. I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, she at least has size. I mean, that's not... That has at least beat a lot of people just before they get to, like, busted crazy hacks things that would overcome them. But who knows? What damn name would you give to Austin, you know? I don't know enough about JoJo. That's the problem. I don't know. You'd have to tell me. Acnologia's clapping mother. Acnologia would eat her. Acnologia would eat her. Like, Acnologia is so busted. Keep in mind, like, he was a threat to reality. This was just this dragon who became the dominant of an entire planet, and then found there's a hole in the universe. Said, "Fuck this! I'm destroying reality," and then like has another part of him be like, "I'm gonna exist here and balance like this like existence out of time and balance time." He's crazy. Like Acnologia is the most absurd character Mishima has ever made, and he's one of the most absurd characters that I've seen in a lot of shonen manga. And I know like Dragon Ball has lots of like crazy just like raw power level stuff and whatnot. But I mean the fact that Acnologia and Zeref were both executed in ways that made me so happy. Because Mishima at least with the last big couple people in the series had big showings before they went out, regardless of anything. Like Zeref and Acnologia, because if you look at Fairy Tail, I know like there's a point where the pacing picks up in Alvarez, which was really unfortunate from the point of like me as a reader, like a big fan. And Alvarez, like, it was right after they rushed into battle for the take back the guild. Actually, no, it was right after the fights with some of the lesser Spriggans started, because like Invul versus Gray, I wish it was so much longer, and it was a shame. That's why I really want Gray to have a lot of stuff around us. We haven't like had a lot of good Gray stuff lately. I like that we've had stuff with Juvia, and we've had a lot of good of his personal character, but I want to see more of him from like him as a fighter, and like the point of like just Gray, and me as a fan of Gray, and how cool he can be, and how powerful he can be, and how he exists like alongside everybody in the main cast. We haven't gotten a lot of that, and I know we've gotten a lot of stuff with Gray in his personal life, and I've liked that too. But at the same time, that's why I really want to get like a really good Gray feat coming soon. I'm hoping so. That's why I want Hakune to be really strong. I gotta do a Hakune video. I'm gonna do a video on her. That's why I picked her today. I'm gonna do a video on her soon. I really want to do a video talking about like where I'm hoping this character exists within the realm of like powers in Fairy Tail. So I'm gonna do a video on that later. But I mean, let me scroll down a little bit. But yeah, it's crazy when you really think about where Zeref and Acnologia are. And they're both so broken. But where I was going with that is, even with Mishima rushing a little bit near the end, and I know it was rough. Like, you got to have a couple fights that seemed like it was going to be really cool. Like how, the fight against Agil with Elfman and Lisana. I thought that was going to be a really cool, like, that could have been a really cool fight. Because, like, people always thought it was like lame for Agil that he lost to them, but the thing is like Elfman was displayed at this very start of the arc to be somewhat contendable with base Natsu, which was huge. That was huge. That had the same vibe of that was like when Ichigo was gonna try and go to Wako Mundo alone to get Orihime, and then Chad and Oryu were gonna kind of like wanted to go and help him, and Ichigo's like, I want to go alone, because he he thought they were still as strong as they were in like in the Soul Society, and then like I know already lost his powers and got it back, but he still he didn't know like how much more powerful Chad came, and Chad like flexed on how strong he was, and man, it was so nice to see them get to have that like really cool move before everything happened, and then damn it, man, good Mishima. No, it's cool, but oh no, I lost my train of thought again. No, hang on. What was I even fucking saying? Shit. I was talking about Irene, and then Zeref, and acting like, God damn it, where was I? I don't know. Fuck it. I'm just gonna continue onward. I'll get back to what I was saying. Oh, I think I saw Hakune. Yeah, I was doing a video on. I'm gonna do whatever. I'm gonna do a video on her. I'll come back at some point to whatever I was saying. Somebody remind me to say in the chat. I'll get to it at some point. Do you think the fight with Shigaraki is not dragged on too long? I think it's dragged on too. I thought it like. It's like the thing is it dragged. It's not that it's dragged on too long. It's that. It ended like a few chapters ago when he was like in a crisp, and then I was like, okay, the fight's over. But then Gigantomachia was like, okay, he's coming in, and then there's not really a fight with him. He just kind of is stopped, and he's like, okay, we put him down, we give him aesthetic, he's done, and then it's like, okay, well, what now? Because are they gonna catch Shigaraki? Is he fucked? Is he gonna heal and then get him out of there? Like what? Like, what was the point of stopping Gigantomachia? Why don't they send him and grab him and then leave? Are they gonna? Why would they keep going? Why wouldn't they like retreat? Because he could have retreated. He didn't have to like go crazy. I don't know. Did he think that they were just gonna win? But then at the same time, it's like it was so easy to beat this dude. It's like, hey, drug him up, okay. And if it was like attack no Logi, okay, guys. We've got a bunch of Ambien. Throw it at him. And like, how did Best Genius hold that fucking dude down? I hated that. I'm sorry. I just wished it was just Gigantomachia comes in like it was their ultimate escape. I love the idea, like Gigantomachia being really powerful is really cool. Like he's just this big monster. But I love the idea that he was this ultimate escape route for Shigaraki, because until like the idea is like you fight Shigaraki and then it's like, okay, you beat Shigaraki, okay, we can arrest him, but like there's always a way that he has this giant monster man to show up, get him, and then leave. So he always has a retreat to leave, get healed, get more powerful, and then to come back and do it again. So he's always got an escape route. So you could never defeat Shigaraki until you could defeat Gigantomachia, this massive monster who's just kind of like mows through buildings on a war path to his master. And then they just kind of like, we drugged him up and then wrapped him up in a couple, couple sets of jeans from Levi's, and then we got him. He's done. And then it's just, can Dabi just show up and take these idiots and leave? Are they going to get out of there? Going to get arrested? And then what's going to happen? That's going to be sad. That's like, I don't want to, no one's talking about the Jujutsu Kaisen spoilers. I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to say anything. But if they're just gonna if they arrest Shigaraki, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be pissed if they arrest him, because then it's gonna be like, are they gonna break this motherfucker out at any point? Or is he gonna go meet All For One in jail? I don't want that to happen. I want when he gets out of here. I want it to be like him, and then he gets back from battle, and then he's getting, and you just see him like post-war. He just fucked this whole place up. He destroyed the reputation. They destroyed the reputation of the #1 hero, and they showed this guy who, still a teenager, just destroyed all of them like at once, and they barely beat, and still has this massive monster to come back and save him. And then it was like, it was such a cool way to kind of out this, and then I don't know. Freaking Shigaraki, man. I don't want to say anything else. I don't want to spoil anything. She created the universe and gave as nine omniscience. She's a god of she's a goddess. Did they ever say she created the universe? I don't think so. Acnologia isn't ant compared to her. Acnologia just eats her. He's gonna eat her. She's made of ether. He's gonna eat her. He's gonna eat that bitch. No, he's gonna eat that bitch. She's made of ether. Look at her. She's literally got like energy like pipes made out of her body. He's going, and like her hair is made of energy. He's gonna eat her. He's gonna fucking do. Can you just imagine? You just imagine this giant dragon. This I guess giant from our perspective. This dragon who just he's challenged by this giant space lady who's like, I don't know what, tries to sit on him or something, and he's just like, hey, energy. And then because ether is just the same thing. Ether, nano, and ether, they're the same thing. The same concept. And Acnologia just consumes her. Acnologia is ridiculous. He'd eat Endless too. Put him in Rave Master. Put him against the Endless. He eats the Endless. Put him against her Chronophage. He eats the Chronophage. Acnologia is gonna eat these fuckers. Acnologia is the biggest, the only characters that Mishima has made that are above people like Acnologia for sure. Are like freaking the Mashimir and like the characters, those guys. Those are the gods of Mishima's multiverse. Because Mishima has named his collective series, like their collective series of worlds. He said they were called the Mishima worlds. He gave a creator stated official name to his series. And all of his series exist within them. And in that series, there's this guy who created their universe, is Mashimir, who's a representation of himself, who created Eden Zero, created Wraith Master, created Fairy Tail, and that's why the Eden Zero the Heroes timeline is an alternate timeline of each of these series that is connected, because it's not canon to any of the main timelines, but it's the same characters, but they're all kind of like in this alternate timeline where they're all still kind of connected. It's weird. It's really weird to think about it. It kind of like dips into like when you start to see like comics and how you have different versions of characters and stuff. But in a shonen, but it's not. It's kind of like how you have Yu-Gi-Oh. Like Yu-Gi-Oh has the anime is kind of like one weird big multiverse, but then the outside of the original manga, each manga is different from the anime. Like if you were to watch the anime, you'd get like, for instance, like Yu-Gi-Oh, like 1 through 3, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, all exist in the same timeline. It's like watching one collective show, kind of like JoJo Part 1 through 3. But then the mangas are way different. They're completely different after the original. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds mangas are completely different. Everything after the original is striking. Some of them I don't want to go into, but strikingly different from what the anime does. But that's kind of like how the Fairy Tail timeline is, and then like that Mishima characters are like obviously over all of them, they're the strongest. But other than that, Ankh-Saram, because we know that even Acnologia wouldn't be able to destroy Ankh-Saram's curse. Maybe space between time meeting Acnologia, maybe, but we don't know that. We don't know that for a fact. Like the idea that I have is like if you look at it from like a big web, you have Fairy Tail the series, and then you have Ankh-Saram at the top, and then you have, like, outside of that, you have, you know, each series, like Rave Master and Eden Zero, and then you have Mashimir. And then maybe kind of like, you know, outside of that. I'd have to draw it, I feel like that to kind of get the scope of what I mean, I'd have to kind of like draw it. That might be a video at some point, and explaining like the Mishima world and how Mishima's timelines all work. That might be like a video. Acnologia ate a concept of reality. The space between time was a hole in reality, and inside was nothing. It was nothingness, and it was full of time magic because it had to do with time. It was a hole in the universe caused by time, and it was through the Eclipse Gate, a way that to magically warp space and time to connect 2 points in time itself. Because that's how the Eclipse Gate works. The Eclipse Gate isn't time travel. The idea of the Eclipse Gate is, as long as the Eclipse Gate stands, any point between the Eclipse Gate being up and as long as it exists there is a point to go back to. Like, say, if you had the Eclipse Gate active all the time, say, if, you know, you had full control of the Eclipse Gate, like, Fairy Heart Zareth, like, says, I'm gonna fuck with the time, and then, like, powers up an Eclipse Gate. Say, like, he fixes the one from Crocus up, like, somehow, and then activates it. At any point in time between, because he can power it up infinitely, any point in time between when it was originally built, between then, he could return to at any point in time. Because the idea is it's a doorway into, like, a connecting point. Imagine, like, imagine, you know, like, if you imagine time as, like, a line, just 2 points. And then it's, like, any of those 2 points you can go to. It's really when you think about it. So, you know, it was because you magically induced strain on time when it's activated that you created a hole in time. You magically created a hole in time. And Acnologia went in there and ate it. Acnologia ate a concept of reality that was full, like, inside was nothing caused by time magic. Acnologia went in there and ate it. And then he broke through reality with his bare hands in his dragon form and crawled out. And you see reality. You see space and reality fall from the sky, connecting a dimension Acnologia created inside nothing, and then just kind of like come out and then start nuking like half, like not half, it was like probably somewhere of like a seventh or like an eighth of the planet, just in excess magic when he cast Eternal Flare. Get the fuck out of here. Acnologia was a monster. He ate a concept of reality. Let's see. Izukawa is a discount Kakashi. No, he's different. I mean, I don't know why that, like, the fact that he did the tragic friend backstory. I think that's definitely the problem in comparing him. It definitely honestly makes him feel like that, and it wasn't as big. It wasn't done in a way that it was like cool too. It was kind of lame, because like when you look at like when they compare Kakashi to Satoru Gojo, you can kind of see that with like if you compare Obito and Geto, but they're both, you could look at it from that kind of same idea, but it's done so differently. And either character is done so differently. It's really interesting. Whereas, like, Eraser's like fallen friend was boring. He was like a henchman. He was dumb. Like, if his guy was like somebody like up to like top tier villain level, like, you know, like these two characters, like Geto and like Obito, and he was a lasting villain, then yes, because I love the part. Oh, I don't want to spoil anything about Geto stuff. I'm not gonna say it because I know there's probably anime onlys in this. I'm not gonna spoil anything about that because I know there's gonna be anime onlys in this. I don't want to spoil anything about Jujutsu Kaisen's Geto. I know I think he's been shown in the anime. I don't know if he's been shown in the anime. Either way, Geto. Just know Geto. That dude's story. I can't wait. I can't wait to see in the anime. He's one of my favorites. Brent, he ate infinite time and space magic. He ate nothing. He ate nothingness. Because it was described. But look at Anna's description. Look at Anna's description of what it is. I'm pulling it up right now. Let's go. Let me see. You can go with me. Anybody wants to follow? Where is it? It's around 5:30. I think 5:31. I'm going there. We're gonna go over this. We're gonna go over. There's 21 people left here. We're gonna go over how Anna describes what the space between time is. Because it's not just like, oh look, it's like a pocket dimension full of magic. No. Because it's because when people talk about it, it's when Zareth talks about it, he's talking from about a magic standpoint. We're gonna go over that because he's talking about how there are two keys to what he's doing. One is Mavis, and soon as he needs the space between time to use the Neo Eclipse. All right, we're gonna go over Zareth because this is why people misunderstand what it is. Because Zareth knows about it, but Anna researched what it is from a base root of what it is. Let me find Zareth. Let me find my boy. Let me find it. There it is. It's because when Zareth talks about it, he says it's brimming with time magic. It beggars the imagination, and that time magic belongs to me. It's because it's a hole in time created by magic, and the idea of it is caused by magic. Now let's go to Anna. When Anna describes what it is, the person who researched what it exactly it is, and when you put in the context to the story, because again, you're essentially, if you take time, you look at a timeline, because the idea is there's a timeline, and then there's ways that time can deviate into different timelines, but at the base root of it, there's one timeline. But the door between times, the Eclipse Gate, it causes those 2 points whenever the one gate is up between a point in time and another, that you can activate it. You can activate it and travel between those times. You can connect 2 of those points at any point in time, and that created the space between time because it kept getting activated. And it from the original point when Anna came over with the original 5 Dragon Slayers with Natsu, Gajil, Wendy, Sting, and Rogue. And oddly enough, it's shown in the anime, and it shows Sonya. Sonya actually is one of the things I was so happy when they put that in the anime. With Sonya, they made it put up in Dragon Cry that you see Sonya who goes to over to Stella and then goes to take over Stella with Anima. I love that scene. I made such a good video on that. I was so happy. I was like thinking about it, and then it was like revealed in the novel that was Stella, and I was like, oh man, that was so cool because that confirms again that it's canon. Because the anime was oversaw by Mishima, so it's the extra stuff in the anime for Alvarez is canon, which I always really liked. Unfortunately, it did make the stupid Daphne arc canon, but we don't talk about that arc because it was dumb. Daphne, it was like a low tier version of, it was like a baby version of Edalus. It was like Diet Edalus. That's essentially what that arc was, honestly, now that I think about it. That's a pretty good way. I mean, because both crazy people piloting dragon mechs, except one is highly sophisticated, one's just a big dopey I'm big slam toy. But anyway, let's read how Anna describes the space between time. All right, let's read exactly how she describes this thing. Right, I have to do this, and then we're gonna go back to the chat. I'm gonna try and get caught up. Let me see. Let me see where it is. She says it's in a process. I've discovered something awful. Perhaps it was caused by the accident that with the eclipse, or perhaps generated by something else entirely. I cannot say. I've been keeping a low profile because I was investigating preparing it for use. It is a very strange and dangerous power. Not a power, more like a concept. She says it's a concept. It's a concept of reality, because she says what she states again is, when she talks about it, she says that perhaps the concept of time is trying to repair itself. There was a warp in the flow of time. That's what happened when they opened the Eclipse Gate. The space between time is caused by magic, but inside of it, it's nothing. It's between time and space. She says the space between time is a true void. No one can live there or even exist there. Not even Acnologia. But she knew more about, but Anna knew more about the space between time. She didn't know enough about Acnologia. Acnologia got sucked in, but he ate that bitch. He said fuck nothing and then ate it. Acnologia is the strongest thing Mishima has ever created. He is ridiculous. Acnologia is a monster. He is the apocalypse. He will destroy realities. Let's see. Young Xehanort versus Dio. Xehanort's gonna fuck this he's gonna destroy him. That was nothing like Kakashi. It's not like... he's like Kakashi from the mentor standpoint. That's it. That's the only thing. And then both of them have that, like, younger rookie friend who turns bad. The same way, like, Satoru is. But it's like... It's not that's it. It's the kind of, like, that concept. But obviously, personality-wise and how it went down and everything is completely different. That's what people kind of compare it to. Yeah, Acnologia is a monster. Who do you think is the strongest fire user in Shonen? Natsu. Is anyone stronger than Natsu? Natsu's burnt concept of reality and an infinite supply of energy. And then we were shown that not even his full dragon form and not full Aetherius form against Mercephobia when he ate igneous flames. When we saw it with Alderaan, Natsu had a 10 million times boost somewhere around when he ate those flames. Keep that in mind, because 100 million, because base Natsu, just base, because we know multipliers around for Natsu's numbers. We know around where Natsu's power level kind of is, in terms of like his strength, because it's like we know Dragon Force should be at least around like something like Lost Aspect from feats against his fight with Zeref and stuff. I don't need to go into them now, but his base form went and hit, full out went and hit Alderaan, and Wolfen told him it did 1/100th millionth of damage. When Natsu ate Mercephobia's flames, he fucking destroyed Mercephobia in a couple hits. So that gap had to be at least double-digit millions, if not to the 100 millionth. It's Mishima like decided to go ape shit on that one. I thought that was crazy. Like because I know like none of them were going all out against Mercephobia before Ignia showed up. I know that we know that, but we knew that Mercephobia wasn't even fighting seriously. We knew he was not taking them seriously at all. He was no diffing all of their attacks, and he was under 50%. He didn't go 100%. He didn't go all out until Natsu ate Ignea's flames, and when Ignia he fought seriously when Ignia went and set the town on fire. He set Elmine on fire. He took Ignia seriously, and he took Natsu after Ignia made Natsu eat his flames very seriously. Before that, he was messing around with them. And so, that Natsu is ridiculous. Natsu's threshold is ridiculous. And the way that's built, I really... The way that's built is... Acnologia saw E&D as a threat. He saw Natsu as a threat. That's why he showed up in Tartaros. He showed up in Tartaros because of everything going on with E&D. Not like it. So Mishima is building Natsu into a monster, but I think that's what Natsu's afraid of. I think Natsu is afraid of becoming something like Acnologia, because Acnologia and Natsu both have very similar backstories. I think I've done videos on that. I've done a video on him acting like his backstory and how they're very similar, but each of them took different turns in different directions. You should go check those out. I really want to catch up on the chat so I can end the stream. It's been almost 4 hours. What happened to Future Lucy timeline of Grand Magic Games? Oh, I read that one. That's a long time ago. I know. I'm so far behind in the chat. Not just strongest Fries, yeah, Natsu, Ziggy's clapping. Strongest Fries, Sphinx, Iki's probably strongest. I don't know about that. Natsu's threshold's ridiculous. That's just some, like, I can't think of any, like, big god characters. I don't know if there's anybody in Saint Seiya, though. I don't know. I think Natsu, though, would probably be able to consume their attacks, though. I don't know. I guess maybe if he's, like, if they're absurdly faster from the start. And Shonen, yeah, but I don't think they're Shonen. Is it the same? I guess I had to look, because it was in Jump Force, though. I don't know, I guess. I guess if there's somebody in there, probably. And current Shonen, I'll say. There we go. Ziggy being Acno? Fuck no. Absolutely not. Shooting is the strongest antagonist, so mainly took main character's sister. Oh. Let's spoil that one for people. Ziggy already destroyed a planet, which is beyond... we don't know how big the planet is. I've said that so many times. The planet size in Eden Zero has been shown that they're not Earth-sized. They're all different sizes. We don't know which ones are which sizes. That's why it's unfortunate we don't know the sizes of the planet so far. We need like a data book entry where Mishima shows them. Because like Grand Bell literally had nothing on the entire planet except for an amusement park. And it was a planet barely anyone knew about. So it was probably very small. We don't know how big it was. And like we really need to have like a data book or somebody to like put out more panels, or to somebody to like thins like chapters of the comb and find ways to figure out how big some of the planets are. Because they fluctuated wildly in sizes. We've seen that. I'm gonna scroll down because I've already answered this discussion so many times. Okay. Anyway, okay, wait, let's see. I have read so many. Why people keep repeating stuff? Let's see. I'm just gonna answer some of these. What are you guys talking about now? Natsu Lucy. I don't know what this is. Anyway, I'm just gonna end the stream. Appreciate everyone for showing up. Sorry if I had to skip over some stuff. It's been going on for 4 hours. I know people probably want to get out of here. Yeah, but Acnologia is a monster. What if fairy tale characters got grimoires? There's people with magic books. Their magic systems are different. It wouldn't work the same way that Black Clover's is. Yeah, Acnologia is a beast. I want to know how. I don't want to know how Irene, not Irene, Celine. I want to know how Irene's. Oh my fuck! God damn it! This is the worst fumble near the end. I want to know how Celine's like dimensional traveling magic exactly works. I'm hoping she explains it at some point. But other than that, though, I'm gonna call it good. Hope you guys have a good night. I wanted to do an extra long stream because I've been slacking on the streams lately. So probably next week. Which will be go back to a normal stream and have like kind of like a normal hour and a half to 2 hour stream. But yeah, thanks to everyone for showing up. Appreciate the super chats. And, really appreciate it. Jake Miller once again, thank you. And was it Xylek? If I do a video on like the whole idea that Shiki is, that if Shiki is Xenolith, at me on Twitter. Because I'm hoping I don't forget your name, because it'll be in the back of my mind that I don't know if I'm gonna like end up doing it soon or if I'm just gonna like end up doing it at some point. What's your thoughts on the other Rascalon Sace, Haja, Barrel, Jin, Deep Snow? I didn't hear your thoughts on them. I mean they're all kind of just, all of them were kind of like okay. I didn't really care for any of them. Like personally, like outside of like some of their abilities were cool, but I didn't really care for any of those guys' characters. Deep Snow had an interesting backstory though. I like Deep Snow's backstory. Him as a character, he was kind of meh, but I liked his fight a lot. I thought his fight was cool. But other than that, though, I'm gonna end this